today we'll have Chief Botticelli, and she'll be discussing literacy. And then next, Dr. Bullock, Chief Accountability Information Officer. If we can hold our questions until the end of the presentation, please. And any remarks, Dr. Mubega?
No, proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Chief Botticelli, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Admir, can you pull up the presentation, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, Admir. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm presenting remotely tonight, but I hope that everyone can hear me and that you probably hopefully learn a lot from tonight's presentation. Board member Zulich and I had a conversation about the upcoming data report for the board meeting next week. And we thought it would make a lot of sense to give some context for the data that you're going to receive. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about DIBELS, which is one of our interim measures. Admir, next slide, please. Thank you. So DIBELS is a test that we use as a screening measure, and it tells us a lot about skilled reading, how proficient our students are during each grade level. So reading is made up of several strands. What you see on the screen is called Scarborough's reading rope. And it's a graphic illustration that sort of demonstrates what goes into being a proficient reader. So at the top, you see language comprehension. So that entails background knowledge. A student needs to have some understanding of the topic that they're reading about. They need to understand the vocabulary that they're reading. They need to understand basic language structures, so sentence structures and semantics and syntax. They need to have verbal reasoning skills to understand things like metaphors or inferences that they're being asked to draw. And they need literacy knowledge. They need to understand the concept of print, what books are like, different genres. So all those things fall under language comprehension, which is the top strand. And then the bottom strand is word recognition. So that's phonological awareness, understanding that words are made of sounds and syllable sounds, being able to decode. So understanding that every sound is represented in print by a letter or letter combinations. And then finally, sight recognition, just recognizing familiar words quickly and fluently. So when word recognition and language comprehension become entwined, that's when you see automatic reading skills, so fluency, and you see skilled reading. So students are able to read the text in front of them fluently, with basic automaticity and prosody, meaning that they can read it and it makes sense to their listeners and to themselves. And then they can understand what they're reading because they have that background knowledge and they know what those vocabulary words mean. So it takes all of these different strands to produce a skilled reader. And that's the concept of the reading rope. And all of this is really wrapped up in what we call the science of reading. Next slide, please. So in New York State, commissioner's regulations tell us that we have to have a screening measure in place for all students, K to 4. So our universal screening measure for English reading is the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, which you usually hear referred to as DIBELS. And then for teaching reading in Spanish, we use Lectura, which is a new assessment for us this year. It recently became available, so we've just administered our middle of year benchmark for using Lectura to assess students' proficiency in reading Spanish. So a screening measure has to be brief, efficient, and repeatable, which means it should be very quick. It's not a time-consuming task. It has to be efficient and effective, and you have to be able to repeat it throughout the course of the year. So we are charged with administering our screening measures during the fall, winter, and spring of each school year, which we refer to as beginning, middle, and end. So you're going to see the middle of year data next week for DIBELS. Next slide, please. So back to that rope. What DIBELS is going to measure, as well as Lectura, is word recognition, that brief, efficient, repeatable testing. So we look at things like sounds. Can students recognize the sounds of the language? Can they separate the sounds in a word? Can they apply their knowledge of the sound to print? And then do they have fluency with sight words? So what we're going to talk about today are the ways we assess word recognition as part of that universal screening measure. Next slide, please. So this is a chart showing you those brief, efficient, repeatable tests that we use. So there's a number of very quick assessments, and each score for those assessments is combined into what we call the composite score. So we use the composite score to assess whether a student is on track to read at that particular grade level. So when you're looking at this chart, if you start at the bottom, you can see the grade levels across. So beginning, middle, and end of year for kindergarten and first, there's a number of brief assessments that we use. So we use phoneme segmentation fluency for English assessment. We use letter naming fluency for both English and Spanish. The tests in yellow are unique to Lectura in Spanish. They assess Spanish instruction. And then we use nonsense word fluency and word reading fluency, and those go a little bit longer up through third grade. You can see in first grade, we add oral reading fluency in both languages. And then in second grade, we add a comprehension measure, qual palabra or maze. So I'm going to talk about each of these tests briefly, just so you have an understanding when we're talking about screening, what that looks like. So something to remember, these tests are 1 minute long. So each probe is very brief, with the exception of the comprehension measure maze, which takes 3 minutes. That particular test is a group administration. The other ones are all administered one-to-one between the teacher and the student. So the teacher sits with an iPad and works with the student to assess each of these particular measures. Next slide, please. So the first test we're going to talk about briefly is letter naming fluency. So students are given a chart similar to this one on the screen, and they have 1 minute to read the name of as many letters as they can. At the beginning of kindergarten, this particular measure has a heavy weight in the composite score formula because kids are coming to us and they may not have had any exposure to literacy. So this gives us a quick indication if they have had some exposure. They know the letter names, for example. So in kindergarten, it's a heavy predictor of success in the beginning of the year, but it phases out in importance over time. Can you click on that for me, Admir? You can also see that we do the same thing in Spanish with slight variations because of the different alphabet. But both of these probes are 1 minute long, and the teacher administers them directly to the student. Next slide, please. Phoneme segmentation fluency is only administered in English. So we're asking how many phonemes can a student produce correctly in that 1 minute span? So you could do this one with your eyes closed. There's no print involved in this particular test. The teacher will say a word, and the student is asked to segment it into phonemes, so they have to break it apart. So in this particular example, the teacher would say made, and the student would say a, d. Those 3 sounds make up the word made. Even though we know there's 4 letters, there's only 3 sounds in that particular word. So in this example, the student was correct. They were able to sound out, they were able to differentiate between each sound, so they segmented the word made correctly. They would have gotten the full score for that. Next slide, please. Nonsense word fluency is unique to English also. So we assess this particular probe 2 ways. We look to see if the student can produce correct letter sounds, and we also look to see if they can recode the word correctly. So they get 2 scores for this test, even though it only takes a minute to administer. So a student is given a paper with nonsense words, right? We give them fake words that follow phonics patterns to see if they can apply their understanding of phonics skills. We don't want them to be able to have memorized these words because that's not true reading. So we're asking them to assess how you would pronounce these fake words, these nonsense words. So in the first example, the student said sep. So you can see there's a little line under each sound that they produced correctly, and then the longer line indicates that they recoded the word correctly. And then they also read rap, up. So again, they said each sound correctly and then recoded the word. So this student received the maximum points on these two particular nonsense words. So again, they'd have a minute to read as many nonsense words as they could. And this is a very strong indicator of phonics skills. Next slide, please. We also assess word reading fluency in both English and Spanish. So students have 1 minute to read as many words correctly as they can from a list that the teacher produces for them. And then we look at oral reading fluency in both languages. They are given a passage, so connected text. It's a true passage with sentences. And they're asked to see how far down that passage they can get in 1 minute. And their score is derived for both accuracy, meaning they did it correctly, and fluency, how far they got. So oral reading fluency is a very strong indicator of not only phonics skills, but eventual comprehension. Next slide, please. MAISE is actually, this test is comprehension measure, and it's given in both languages. So the students get a passage and some of the words are removed, and they have to select from the 3 that are presented to them. So they would read the sentences and choose the word that made sense in that example. And again, they have 3 minutes to get as far as they can through the passage, selecting the correct words. This is a very brief screener to see if they comprehend the text in front of them. Next slide, please. This particular test is only administered in Spanish because we teach Spanish differently than we teach English. We would say that English is an opaque orthography, meaning it's very complicated, and Spanish is a transparent orthography, meaning each letter makes typically just one sound. So it's actually easier to learn to read in Spanish at the beginning. And we start to teach the students to read in syllables. Once they've learned a consonant sound, they can apply it to their knowledge of the syllable sounds, and they can quickly pick up multisyllabic words. So in this test, the teacher would say a word, the student can't see it. Teacher would say tortuga, and the student would segment those syllables, tortuga. And again, they have 1 minute to break apart as many words as they can into syllables. Next slide. I think we might have missed one. There you go. Okay. So we also look to see in Spanish if they can say the letters, the sounds that the letters make correctly in 1 minute. I mentioned that Spanish is a transparent orthography. So typically speaking, one letter makes one sound. So they would have 1 minute to go ahead and give the sounds for each of these letters. Next slide, please. And then we're also going to see if they can read syllables. So we would give them a minute to read the syllables in Spanish to see how far they can get correctly reading those syllable types, because that is the way that we introduce reading to Spanish speakers in our bilingual programs. Next slide, please. So I just want to talk a little bit about what that looks like when you're getting a score back. So the teacher has administered these very brief, efficient probes to the students, and the system creates a composite score based on the results for each probe. So we give 1 in the beginning, 1 in the middle, and 1 in the end of the year. Those probes are pretty much similar across the board. So what you administer in the beginning of the year looks almost identical to what you do at the end of the year. The passage may change, but the level of difficulty remains the same. Or the letters may be in a different sequence, but it's still the same format. So the difficulty throughout the course of the year is the same. The difference here is that at the beginning of the year, we set a low bar for the students to be successful. So if, for example, on letter naming fluency, pretend in kindergarten they only needed to know 10 letter names to be considered proficient. By the middle of the year, that cut score might change to 20. And then by the end of the year, it might change to 30. So the cut score that the student has to achieve gets more difficult over the course of the year, even though the tests themselves remain at the same level of difficulty. That's how DIBELS is designed, and so is Lectura. So the student, again, might be deemed proficient with a lower cut score in the beginning of the year, but over the course of the year, that cut score increases and the student is expected to increase in proficiency. Next slide, please. There is another regulation that we have to follow, which deals with progress monitoring. So I talked about the 3 benchmark tests that we administer at the beginning, middle, and end, but we also have to administer probes throughout the course of the year. So again, these probes look very similar to the tests that we give at the beginning, middle, and end, but we use them regularly throughout the course of the year to just keep tabs on how students are performing. So this is, again, part of the RTI regulation that we have to follow. So in DIBELS, we will have probes throughout the course of the year aligned to those benchmarks. Next slide, please. So this is what it would look like. The beginning of the year, we administer the benchmark assessment, and then there might be 3 probes that a student takes before the middle of the year assessment, and then another 3 probes that they take before the end of year assessment. Again, each one of those probes is similar in difficulty to the 3 benchmark assessments. So it's always pretty status quo. It's that cut score that continues to increase. Next slide, please. Here's a sample of one of our calendars. So we let the teachers know when they would be administering the beginning of the year, and then when they would be administering those progress monitoring probes to specific students. This, for example, basically most students are progress monitored twice monthly in grades K to 2. So the yellow would represent a student who is at the strategic level. The green would be a student on benchmark. The blue would be a student above benchmark. And the red would be a student with intensive support needs. So again, we have calendars for teachers just to show them throughout the course of the year when they would be administering the benchmarks as well as the probes. And those probes, those progress monitoring measures, give us an indication if students are staying on track. So we typically administer those probes to students who are below grade level a little more frequently than students who are on grade level. We have a unique calendar for the bilingual programs so that we don't over-test the students because they're taking tests in Spanish as well as English. So we pace that out for them so that they're not constantly taking assessments. Next slide, please. I'm happy to answer anyone's questions. I know that's a lot of information in a very short time, but the DIBELS data is coming to you next week, and we just wanted to make sure you had a baseline understanding of what you'll be looking at. So next week, we'll talk about 3rd grade specifically, but we do administer DIBELS and Lectura grades K to 4.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Does anybody have questions here?
I do one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, board member Rodriguez, please.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Buccelli. You know what I was wondering is if a student is absent on one of the days that we're looking to have, I forget the name of the test, like the check-in as they're progressing through the semester, how do they handle it at the school level? Or does the student ever get a 0 if they're absent on that testing day?
They would never get a 0. We actually have windows of time when we administer those probes. So the benchmark period is about 2 weeks long. So it's very easy to catch most students in that 2-week window. And then the progress monitoring throughout the course of the year, there's usually about a week when they administer that probe. So if the student missed Monday and Tuesday but came Wednesday, they would try to administer the test on Wednesday.
And then just to be clear, so if a student is gone for that entire week of when they're doing the probe, do they test when they come back, or are they just at a loss because we're no longer testing?
Most teachers would try to catch that student up because the
Okay.
data is actually for the benefit of the teacher
Understood.
more so than for us. Yeah. So
Okay.
then they can make decisions about instruction based on that data. So they're not boxed out. They can always administer it at any point if they have to.
Okay, and I feel like you probably understand just like with the attendance trends in the West District, sometimes when we're gone, our friends are gone for a long time. So I was just checking in. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Board Member Hawkins?
Chief Monticelli, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I had the opportunity last week to go into some of my schools in the district, and they were showing me how they had their Dibbles chart up. And I thought about it over the weekend, and I did have some questions. I'm glad that you're presenting on that. So, like, some students maybe feel maybe nervous or even rushed of that time period that you're giving them. So, what happens when the performance really don't reflect their true ability?
Well, we have the 2-week window to capture the benchmark assessments, but during the progress monitoring, the teacher could re-administer it at any point in time. So again, the screening measure is really for the teacher's benefit to make sure that they're noticing any student who needs additional supports or might need additional RTI services. So really, they have a lot of flexibility. We capture that data for reporting purposes during that 2-week window, but a teacher could administer it at any point in time if they needed to, or re-administer it.
Now, why only 2 languages? We have students from man all over the country, the world, basically. So why only 2 languages?
We use DIBELS to assess reading in English, and most of our students who are not in bilingual, all of our students who are not in bilingual programs are learning to read in English. So that's the measure that we use. We don't have assessments in Bengali, for example, because we're not teaching them in Bengali. We do teach students to read in Spanish, however, which is why we were able to procure this assessment for Spanish because of the bilingual programs. But everyone else would be assessed in English because they're learning English at their school.
Where would be more, where would you pinpoint the vocabulary development, more story comprehension and creativity within the language for those grade bases?
So that wouldn't be measured by DIBELS. That would probably be captured by iReady, which is a different assessment I'm going to come back and talk about next month. DIBELS it's used for that screening measure, and it's very prescriptive what the type of assessment that we can use, because we're measuring to see if they're really understanding word recognition. So basically, can they decode? When they get a text in front of them, are they able to read the words? Other assessments measure different things, like the state assessment includes writing. iReady includes vocabulary and comprehension, but this particular measure is simply looking to see if they can decode.
Okay, now how do we assure better development in reading support with the appropriate, with the appropriate support? How do we assure better development in that?
Sure. So we have a reading program that we use K to 6. This test is measuring skills K to 4. We are required to teach phonics, for example, up to about 4th grade. We use Orton Gillingham as our baseline in K to 2. Teachers get a lot of support with that. It teaches students how to decode. And then we have additional parts of the program that teach vocabulary, comprehension, writing. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question exactly. But we also have RTI. So if a student is struggling and they're not on track, they get an additional intervention period for 30 minutes, at which point they would receive additional reinforcement for whatever skill they were struggling with. So if it was for phonics, they would get phonics intervention. If it was for like vocabulary, they might go to morphology. Then some students are actually on track, so they get accelerated. They go to a program like Junior Great Books to get acceleration at that time.
That's good that you're using OG. You did answer my question on what if the student doesn't meet the expectation, but what balance should good literacy have, in your opinion?
Well, it has to, that rope that I showed you earlier, we have to meet all those strands. So a student's not a successful reader unless they are able to master every strand. So in the very early grades, there is obviously a focus on phonics as per the standards. And actually, we had to attest to that to the state. But there's additional things that we reinforce. We want to make sure they have background knowledge. We want to make sure that they can learn through read alouds if they can't yet read themselves. We give a lot of vocabulary instruction. We give writing instruction. All of those things add up over time to address each of the different strands so that they can be woven together and the student can become a proficient reader, but you can't ignore any of them. You really need all the pieces.
Why is it status quo? You mentioned something that's the status quo. Why is the status quo?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure at what point I referenced status quo. So a student is learning how to read till about 3rd grade, and then they typically say that the student then reads to learn. So they're learning how the process of reading up until about 3rd grade. And then after that, they're expected to be proficient readers who are learning new information by reading text. So we say in the lower grades, they're learning to read, and then they read in order to learn as they get older. So when a student is a struggling reader in the lower grades, we have to intervene. So that actually would not be status quo. We have to intervene to help accelerate their learning so that they can become proficient and able to access text in other classes as they get older.
You was a reading teacher. What would be some of your pillars of reading?
Writing is not technically one of the pillars, but I would probably include it. It'd be phonemic awareness, which is the sounds of the language. And then you apply those sounds to print, which is phonics. Then I would add vocabulary, comprehension, although fluency, you have to be a fluent reader to be able to get through the text. Those are usually what I refer to as the pillars.
Thank you, Chief. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
I just had one question. Is the progress monitoring twice monthly? Is that for the screening measure? Is that like recommended by the state, that amount? Or does it like cut into instruction time, or just it's good to have that data for the students?
It's helpful to have the data. The state just says that we have to progress monitor. They don't specify exactly how many times per month. We tend to progress monitor students who are behind a little more just to make sure that we see growth, but you don't administer every measure every time. So for example, when we progress monitor, if a student is receiving like tier 3 intervention, we probably would use, nonsense word. We might not use a lot of other probes because that would be the one that's most impactful for that particular student.
Thank you. And
You're
then
welcome.
Board Member Rodriguez, do you have another follow-up?
Yeah. So one of the things I was wondering is so the nonsense words,
Mhm.
are they generated by us or are they auto-generated? Because I think one of the things that is so fun about our bilingual schools is that some of our students are speaking English or Spanish, and then as Board Member Hawkins mentioned, there's so much linguistical diversity. So Dr. Buccelli, just what I'm trying to discern is, could it be confusing to a student if one of those nonsense words is a part of a word from their home language or a word that's present in the top 5 languages, or like a portion? So I guess that's what I was trying to figure out is like, how do we generate those nonsense words? Because they may be nonsense words in English, but like in another language, it might be half a word. And I'm just kind of thinking toward the linguistical diversity in our district, because I like to remind people that at one time we were second in zip codes for 3. And I know you work through that as very well to compliment everyone every day, but it's just a reminder for everyone that's listening.
Sure. So a couple parts to that question. First, it is generated by the vendor because it is a research-based assessment. So there's hundreds of thousands of kids across the country using the same lists over the course of the year. So that's how they can determine accuracy of the scores and set those cut points. So we don't ever generate it. And sometimes those nonsense words are actually a syllable in English too. So we work with students to understand it. We know it's fake. It is not a real word. You are just being asked to sound it out. Can you tell us what it would say if you're just looking at the letters and understanding phonics? So it really is only used to assess English. We don't use that measure for assessing Spanish. And we recognize that sometimes like SEP, SEP, I think as an example I showed, could be part of separate, right? But they're just recognizing that we're asking them to read it. They don't have to know what it means because it doesn't really mean anything. But the reason they use those nonsense words is because otherwise students might have memorized sight words, basically. So they want to make sure you're not getting a false read because the student recognizes the word. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And for the record, I want to excuse Vice President Everhart today due to a death in her family. Our thoughts are with her and her family. And now we're going to move on to Dr. Prophet Bullock for the Every Student Succeeds Act Accountability System Overview.
Admir, can you put up the ESSA presentation? As we are waiting for there you go. Every Student Succeeds Act Accountability Overview. So we thought it would be, first off, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Ebony Prophet Bullock. I am the Chief Accountability. I serve you as your Chief Accountability and Information Officer for the district. And so one of the things that fall under my purview is accountability. And the accountability system has changed. And so I wanted to kind of go over just a little bit about what it is for those of you who are unfamiliar, and then how it impacts us here locally. Next slide. So I'm going to go over really quickly the importance of accountability. What are the accountability support models? What are our accountability indicators? And then BPS accountability, what it looks like here locally. Next slide. So it's really ideal that I came after Chief Botticelli in her presentation, because one of the things that both the federal and state governments are asking of all districts is that we really understand that in every school, every child should be getting a very similar and robust access to academics and tier 1 systems. And so in fact, New York State is saying that we are to ensure that every child has access to high quality educational opportunities and experiences. And right now, what they really want us to focus on is strengthening core instruction and tier 1 supports. And so it's depending on 3 things: positive learning environments, preparation for the future, and well-rounded development for children. Next slide. So there are a few support models that this all hinges on. And what the state really wants us to understand is we previously had schools called good standing. Well, there is no perfect school. Every school can use help. And so this new way of looking, they call it a reimagined system, is dependent on 3 support models. We have CSI schools, we have ATSI schools, we have TSI schools, and we have LSI schools. Just the fact that we have schools that are categorized as CSI, ATSI, and TSI puts us in a TSI district. And so with each one of those models comes a designated amount of support, either locally or from the state. And in it, it's helping us to build coherence from the state, the district, and then down to our schools. And it all hinges on something that Chief Botticelli was talking about. It is to make sure that instruction is strong. I just said that. Instruction is strong, that we're monitoring our progress, and that students are gaining the knowledge and skills necessary for success. If you move on, please. Next slide. And so each categorization has a continuum of support, right? And so, in fact, we're in a lot of meetings right now with the state, and they keep saying this: think of accountability now as a continuum of support. Some schools receive local monitoring and improvement supports. Those are our LSI schools. What the state says is that for LSI, formerly known as good standing or green, those schools have work. There are individual subgroups and pockets of children that still need support. There's teachers that need support. And so what they ask districts to do for LSI is to wrap ourselves around LSI schools and provide local supports. We then have other schools that require targeted, as in the T and ATSI and TSI, and then some that need comprehensive supports, and those are our CSI schools. Across all levels, the focus remained on improving planning, progress monitoring, and a collaboration between the state, district, and school environments. Next slide. Accountability also is really important around when we take a look at how we're supporting our subgroups. And so you know what our subgroups are. We have all students, we have Black or African American, we have Asian or Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, we have a multiracial group, we have a group referred to as English language learners, we have students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, white, Hispanic or Latino, and American Indian or Alaskan Native. Now we know that there are other ways that families identify themselves, but we go with these tags, if you will, based on how the federal government categorizes pockets of students, okay? And so accountability subgroups are important for us to remember because it helps us make sure we focus in on equity, and that in all schools, there's not a pocket of kids, there's not a group of kids that we're not focusing on with precision, and to make sure that they are not overlooked and they get our best. Next slide. I'm going through this fast because I really want us to get to what it means for us locally. I can take questions and come back if we need to. So there was a way that we did it before. Now there's a new way that the state rolls this out, and it's called the Reimagine Phase Accountability. And so there are certain indicators that we should be mindful of. So when the state looks at how a school should be categorized, what are the indicators we should be looking at? We should be looking at weighted achievement, core subject performance, student growth, that's all the academic measures, attendance, graduation rate, college, career, and civic readiness, and English language proficiency. Some indicators we did a good job maintaining across the district and in individual schools. And so what the state said, well, across the state, there's some indicators that look like they are strong indicators of success. So we'll keep those and they maintain those. Others, the state modified a little bit, and then some the state brought back. So when we look at some of our academic indicators, the state brought back indicators around science and social studies, because if you remember, right around COVID, the state put those back and said, we're not going to measure a school's progress or performance. We're going to pull those back for a little bit. Okay, next slide. So just drilling down quickly on what some of these indicators mean. When we look at the weighted average achievement and core subject performance, these are indicators that measure students' performance across academic areas. So at the elementary middle level, this includes ELA, math, and science. At high school, it includes ELA, math, science, and social studies. So the social studies got brought back in for high school. One key change is the restoration of science and social studies to the accountability calculations, specifically at the high school level. When we talk about student growth, next slide, Admir. Student growth measures how much students improve over time rather than solely focusing on proficiency. So core subject and weighted, that's proficiency. Can kids read? Can they do math? Can they do science on grade level? Growth says, are they growing, right? We want to look at both. Growth measures ELA and math between the prior and current school years and highlights learning gains student made along their educational journey. Next slide. English language proficiency measures how well multilingual learners progress towards fluency in English. Students move through levels from entering to commanding based on the nicest lot results. All, not all, but there are large groups of our students who take nicest lots depending on their grade. Okay. Monitoring language progress ensures that English language learners receive appropriate supports to succeed academically. So how much of English are our L's learning at any given time? Attendance. Next slide. Attendance. A significant change is the new attendance indicator. So we weren't held accountable to attendance in the same way. Okay, so there's a new indicator that's replacing chronic absenteeism. We used to be held accountable to chronic absenteeism. And so it's not that chronic absenteeism goes away and we shouldn't pay attention to it, but the state has a new indicator. And what it does is it measures the rate of student presence in school and allows districts to identify patterns early and provide tier supports to address barriers in attendance. So we still keep our eye on chronic absenteeism. I look at it as just looking at attendance from a different perspective. And we're looking at how often kids are in school and then identifying problems very early on and creating strategies to make sure that kids are in school. I think one of the ways that we're doing it and where we're going to see a bump is with our new attendance lottery that we have going on. I think that's going to really help us with this attendance indicator. Next slide, graduation rate. Graduation rate measures the average of the 4, 5, and 6-year cohort rates. This broader measure provides a more accurate picture of student progress and recognizes that students sometimes require more time to graduate, right? It's like my mother used to say all the time, life isn't straight. Sometimes you don't go from A, B, C. And so the new way that we're looking at graduation rate is that, you know, you get some applause for getting those kids out in 4 years, but we also celebrate 5 and 6. Next slide. We also are looking at college and career readiness a little bit differently. This indicator examines how well students are prepared for life after high school. It includes diploma attainment, advanced coursework participation, and career credentials. The goal here is to ensure that students graduate prepared for college, career, and civic engagement. So for this indicator, you're going to hear us talking a lot about this year, and actually CCR is one of the goals that you all look at. We are going to be looking to see not just if kids are graduating on time. Are they graduating with a CDOS credential? Are they finishing out and getting a seal of civic readiness? Are they getting their seal of biliteracy? What are those extra little credentials based on their programming in school that they're getting on top of their diploma? And this is for all students in all schools, right? So we know that City Honors has a wonderful IB program, but we want the same kind of seals, the same kind of advanced coursework kids graduating with from all schools. So college, career, and civic readiness. So now, what does this mean for us? What does our accountability look like? And I want to remind you that our accountability is based on last year's results, the 24-25 school year. So Admir, if you can flip to the next slide. So I'm going to step this way a little bit so I can see along with you. As you can see, and we know the accountability came out this winter. And it wasn't what we expected, but this is what our accountability looks like right now. So right now we have 2 additional schools that are now under superintendent receivership. They are CSI schools. Receiverships schools are CSI schools.
Superintendent commission. Superintendent commission.
Superintendent. So we do not have any school, thank you, Dr. Mubanga, in commissioner receivership. Right now, Commissioner Rosa recognizes that we're doing the very hard and detailed work to push schools. To get out of CSI and to get out of receivership, it takes a lot of work. It took some work to get there. It takes a lot of work to pull back. It's not enough just to do better in ELA and math. Schools have to show sustained growth over a few years to get pulled out. So we're going to wrap our arms around Harriet Ross Tubman, number 31, and Lovejoy Discovery, number 43. They are our new 2 receivership schools, but they are still under our control. They're still under Dr. Mubenga's area of control. We have I didn't list it here. So those are our 2 new schools. The other 3 receivership schools we have is Academy Schools 131, Harvey Austin School number 97, and school
37.
30. So we have 131 alternative. We have Harvey Austin number 97, and then we have Futures Academy number 37. And so the good news is they're showing promise, but it does take some time to dial down, to find those strategies that work, but they are showing promise. And so we are working to continue to wrap our arms around. We know that we have this new way that we are looking and maybe seeing if we can do some things differently at the academy schools. Am I at time? Are you telling me I'm at time?
Yeah.
Okay, I have no filter. I can't. And so moving on, you can see the number of ATSI schools and LSI schools. There was an increase in CSI schools. Those are the schools that are in red. But again, some of this has to do not with the to say that the schools are not doing great work, but it is these slight little nuanced changes in how accountability is measured. I can tell you across the state, everybody took a hit with attendance. That indicator is really going to cause us to stretch ourselves. So next steps, Admir, I'll finish it with this. So what we are doing in district right now, OSA and OSL, we have renewed and refreshed our working relationship. We have a new way that we're collaborating and building to create school plans. We're in the process of doing our DSIP. We'll have our district plan for 26-27 by the end of April, which will inform the school plans. I have taken the liberty of assigning someone from my team to each of the ASLs, so a customer service focus. They have a dedicated data person to help them look at data and to drive strategies and things of that nature. And we are just doing more with collaborating, creating coherence, partnering better with the state to make our work easier. And so with that, this is your accountability update. I'm pretty sure that I will be coming back again to update you on how we're faring along the way.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions in the room?
Yeah,
All right.
looking at this pie chart. Consistency I see in this pie chart, 11 schools moved from LSI to CSI, somebody's underperforming. So where do you see the underperforming line at as the accountability officer? Why are we underperforming at 58%?
So I think that we struggle with the state makes changes swiftly. The feds push things down to the state starts pushing things down, and we're not as nimble as we could be. However, I think those swift changes, without giving us enough time and enough warning in the middle of an accountability cycle, to do these swift changes within an accountability cycle where we don't have enough time to make the kind of changes we need, it's kind of what hurt some of those 11 schools. That attendance metric really stuck it to us. On top of that, there were some significant changes in terms of formatting of certain state exams, cycles of what was supposed to be included, different standards. And so I think as we are retooling, we have, trying to count, we have 3 brand new ASLs that know academics well, that know tier 1 supports well, that coupled with a great CAO a good superintendent that's pushing us, I think that we will see the small but sustainable progress that we need. Sometimes you take a step back or 2 or 3 step backs to go forward. And so I think that's what it is we gotta do some
Now,
changes.
does the state has anything to do with far as the curriculum, and how many curriculum changes has it been over the course of, say, 5 years? How many curriculum changes have?
I can get that to you. I do have that. I don't have that here, and I don't want to misquote off the top of my head, but there's been significant, like in math and science, just the different ways they place certain pieces of the curriculum and then test out about
Is
it.
that forced by the state, or
It
does
is.
it come from us?
It's forced by the state. The state has made some changes, but I will get that answer to you.
Okay, now, is there any tutoring or mentoring or some sort of academic programs that's in place for, our students?
Absolutely. So the great thing also about this work is we're having a renewed partnership and working with Dr. Reynolds' family engagement team and the Strong Saturday Academy. So you will start seeing a better alignment between the day school, after school EOT, Saturday and summer programs. And you are going to see a better alignment between the work that we're doing in terms of accruing credits. So we're trying to cover all bases, and this new DSIP and SEP is causing us to go back to a real strict alignment so that you can see everything and catching the kids up where they have maybe stumbled a little bit.
Okay, and how much does students with disabilities or economically disadvantaged, how do you analyze that, and how does that affect that 58%?
So I could disaggregate this for you by those subgroups. I don't have it now, but I'll note to send that to the board. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, Board Member Rodriguez, please.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I just have a couple questions. One of which is, can we get the complete list of the schools that have moved into the red? Because I know you mentioned there were 11, and I was just interested to see which ones were in my district.
Board Member Rodriguez, I sent that to you I sent that to the entire board a few weeks ago, but I
Fantastic.
can definitely pop it. Yeah, I can pop it to the top of your email.
Yeah,
again.
no, it's okay. I can go
Yeah.
back and look for it. I think one of the conversations that I was interested to have was one that was started with Board Member Hawkins, is when we have nonprofit partners inside our buildings and our buildings are being assessed at, like, I forget the acronym, but at the red, because I'm like a very visual person. I'm just wondering, and this may not be the appropriate venue to talk about this, but like, how are we messaging to our nonprofit partners that our school community is in crisis and the things that we're focusing on? Because I have had the privilege of touring some of the Saturday academies, and I think I'm interested to see increased connectivity between some of those objectives we're working on that they're evaluated on and what's being presented to the community.
So what I would say is this, so Dr. Reynolds' team is just getting this information as well, and we are building that coherence now. There is a way that we do as a district have the ability to evaluate our partners. And so this is just another way to inform that practice already that we have. And so that's what we're doing now. We're doing the work internally across cabinet to refine how we do that.
Okay, and then my last question, thank you, because I think that it's really important that if we have one partner that seems to be present at all the struggling schools, that we have maybe a more intense conversation with them about what that partnership needs to evolve to look like to support our students and ultimately get their school out of the red. And it sounds like there's some agreement on that item. The last item that I had is in terms of like our CSI schools. I don't know if this falls under your purview or if that's something that we're collecting right now, Dr. Mubanga, but how do we see how many of these schools are making recommendations for educational neglect because of attendance, or like are getting or having other data that is, I guess, adjacent data regarding at least the attendance piece? So if I'm looking at a school, doctor, and there's like increased involvement with CPS, or I have many families that have been called to task around educational neglect, how is that being presented, or if it could help complement the school's profile?
So that is really sensitive, as you know, very sensitive data. So I don't have that at the district level. It is kept really at the school level. And I do know that principals will reach out to their ASL, to the superintendent when needed to do that. And so I could gather that information. That would take me a few days to gather that information to give you just like a dip check on how buildings are using and leveraging those alternate community resources, whether it is, you know, child and family services or any of those measures. We could work on pulling that for you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think for me, kind of just to recenter, the reason why I'm asking that is because educational neglect is something that as a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate through the Mental Health Association, I was tasked as a volunteer to work with families who were BPS families to kind of make corrective measures around their attendance. And I think for me, it's just a great interest to make sure that we're calling, as you alluded, Dr., those community partners to task when we're evaluating attendance, because there are more community resources than just like within the district. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, Dr. Evans Brown.
Yeah, my question was similar to board member Rodriguez's. How are we using our CBOs differently because of the increases in CSI statuses? Because we have, you know, say yes, we have our school social workers, we have counselors. You know, everybody needs to heighten up this crisis. I consider it a crisis as well. As far as attendance, you know, kids have to be in school to learn, right? And so working for the Buffalo Urban League, we have had to take some families to course for educational neglect. It happens, and it is happening. When we talk about increased interventions, we just have to do things differently. Because I do see this as a crisis when we're talking about 58% of our schools that have concerns, right? Yeah, so those are just some thoughts I was thinking about in terms of doing things differently. We have a lot of community-based organizations who are doing really good work, but we got to collectively bring them all together, you know, on the same plateau, because we want the same thing to get these schools out of the red.
So this, what we should really be asking the question is, what will we do, right? So this is data that's now, and so we need to talk about not what we have done, but what will we do?
Right.
And so moving forward, I'm gonna ask my colleague, Dr. Reynolds, to jump in right behind me, and then I'll be finished. What I wanna say is this: the new DSET process and the new SET process, our plans that we have to create for the state are requiring that when we see these trends, it's not an intervention, it's now tier 1. If you see large groups of students that are falling behind in attendance, and in fact, we must, for the DSET, create a strategy, a specific plan for our district plan around attendance. So says the state for our district plan. So we will be doing these. We will be circling back to our CBOs, making sure that the ones that are really working are working well, and that maybe we could duplicate that in other schools. But I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds to jump in here.
But am I able to speak from here? Shall I come out? I just echoing the sentiments of what you all have said, board member Rodriguez, Dr. Evans Brown, you're absolutely correct. We have a lot of CBOs. I think where the shift is happening is with the intentionality that the CBOs are being utilized. That is taking place in the schools where they're planning, they're developing their school-based plans. And there's a lot more. You talked about the departments working a lot more connected and closely together. So we're going to want to make sure that as schools begin to make decisions about how they're going to utilize the funds and which CBO partners they're going to utilize, they're going to do that in alignment with the goals and the gaps as outlined in their ESSA, their School Comprehensive Education Plan. But to your point, because we've talked about this a lot, so what extent are the CBOs, there are some CBOs that have been in schools for many, many years. At what point do we cut ties? I don't think we at this point have done a good enough job as a district assessing the impact of the CBOs. So we need to do a much better job in doing that. But we are very hopeful that as we're kind of transitioning into a new structure for how the plans are being developed, that we're working closely with our school leaders also to make sure that they're intentional about the CBOs that they are utilizing in all of the programming, be it extended learning, Saturday academies, evening programs as well.
The state is requiring coherence and that is
Yes.
being echoed over and over again in the training.
When we say CBOs, are we intertwining that as far as after school programming?
Yes, so the
No?
So-
This can be.
community-based organizations.
The above though, so this is where I want to just give you another way of looking at it, because I know when you say community partners, immediately we think about the Office of Strategic Alignment and Innovation. Every school has partners. They determine the partners that they want to utilize. OSAI, Office of Strategic Alignment and Innovation, they essentially process the contract for the partners, but it's the schools that we're responding to. Okay, and it can be I mean, we have tons of partners in the district.
Yeah, but as far as after school, is every school has an after school program?
No,
No.
Yes.
And every.
Or do they?
no.
they
Oh,
don't.
and it's saying,
So, is it a community
So-
based or is it teachers after school with the school?
So every school is a little different. We have some that have 21st century grants, which would be a CBO partnership. Other schools that don't have a grant are run by the district. The exceptions would be, I think, 84 OTC, they don't have after school.
So how many after school programs are being ran by the teachers? Do you have that number?
Not off the top of my head, I can get it for you though. They're not run by the teachers, you mean teachers are instructing?
Yes.
Yes, even in the programs with the 21st century grants, they often hire our teachers.
Why not? So that's taken away from the community, community-based organization.
So we have a sort of a three-part model that we use in after school. So even with a CBO partner, they might bring in the social emotional learning component or some of the enrichment activities, but they would ask when possible to have teachers providing the academic portion.
So we got teachers after school program and we still at 58%. And the teachers are still involved with after school program. And we have 58%.
58%
yes.
CSI.
Why
Yes.
is that? Interesting.
Not every school offers the same type of programming. So at the secondary level, they often ask students to come in to do credit recovery work as opposed to intervention work. It varies.
And if I may interject, Board Member Hawkins, a part of the reason that we're failing is because, in my view, when it comes to some of these evaluations, is because of the time kids are spending outside of school, not what's happening while they're in after school. And I think one of the things I want to recenter on is, while we may process the contracts, we also have the ability to build in, as Dr. Reynolds acknowledged, our expectations in terms of how we evaluate our CBO partners. And I think that's kind of the conversation that, again, we spent a lot of time on. But Puerto Ricans have spent a lot of time going to Puerto Rico in the spring. It didn't just happen this year. And our district continues to struggle to message to my community and to other communities when it's important for us to be there for things like Regents exams. So I think that these are really good conversations. But for me, in terms of talking about this year in isolation, when we're looking at national Latino attendance trends that are happening all across the cities, you know, we can't pretend that this year is the first year that this is happening. I don't think anyone wants to, but it's just a conversation. And it sounds like we need to move past this part of the presentation about what can we do at the district level to make sure we're messaging to families when we need them there. And to your point, Dr. Reynolds, we're relying on our school administrators and our mandated reporters to act accordingly. If they're missing a child, you know, educational neglect is something that we need to talk about, but it may just not be for right now at this level. So I apologize that I introduced that part of the conversation.
Board Member Scott?
So, a question, I think, for Chief Botticelli, really. And I think it's a leap to just kind of associate after-school programming with the 58%. Hasn't it been a challenge with the three-tiered bell system to have teachers participate in after-school programming, as well as post-COVID, hasn't it also been a challenge for CBOs to staff after-school programming as well?
There has definitely been challenges related to staffing, both at the CBO end and the district end. Not everyone is able to stay depending on their start time, and we enroll students based on a ratio with the number of teachers who are available. So that also has an impact sometimes on the program itself. But when we can, we recruit as many teachers as possible to try to work with the students. But there's definitely certain times when a parent may not want to have their student participate based on, you know, the end of the day.
May I enter? So I want to, so that we can move to a nice close of this. The great thing about this entire conversation is the work that we're doing in our strategic planning on Mondays, and the fact that this new DSIP requires a very extensive needs assessment. And when we get done with our needs assessment, I would welcome an invitation to come back. The needs assessment is going to be aligned with what we're doing strategically in strategic planning. Again, this is about getting to the root cause of these really hot button issues. And we stand really at the precipice right now to dig deeply and to address them in a really holistic and meaningful way so that we really can move forward and see the kind of growth that we want very quickly, right? And so that's what this new accountability system will allow us to do. We're doing a needs assessment right now. There's a district team, and then schools are doing a needs assessment, which includes surveying parents, staff, and students. And so we're doing that work now to do that root cause analysis, and we will make sure that is aligned with the strategic planning work that we're doing.
I'm just gonna finish up. I know we're over time. Well, I just wanted to lift up what Board Member Rodriguez and President Evans Brown said about aligning Saturday Academy with literacy and numeracy more. Like, I love eating yogurt, but I'm wondering if we need to do more, you know, math. And then I was wondering about expanding summer school, like intervention, academic intervention in the summer. You know, there's a cost, but I cannot figure out how to get my daughter, who is in RTI and an ICT classroom, to get extended school year. 2 years I've appealed it, and this year too, she was denied extended school year. So I just think that's a really good investment. Just how can we capture more children that really need that academic support? And after that, I would say thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Mubanga, did you want to comments?
I'll bring you my plan when we finish with strategic plan.
Looking forward to improving. And at this time, we'll move to educational support. The Honorable Hawkins will chair. Hand it over to you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am the Honorable Louis Mookie Hawkins. I am your chairperson for educational support. And today I have presenting Dr. Ramona Reynolds, who is the Chief of Athletics. She's also the Chief of Community Schools and Family and Community Engagement. We're doing a phenomenal job in those areas. Also, Mr. Michael House, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Athletics, along with the Director of Athletics, Mr. Aubrey Boyd. Dr. Mubanga, do you have any remarks before we begin?
No, sir. I think the agenda is busy and let's proceed. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Dr. Reynolds, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you, Honorable Board Member Hawkins, Dr. Mubanga, you're absolutely right, the agenda is busy. Board Member Hawkins, we certainly will accommodate your request for us to truncate the presentation from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. So we're going to move pretty quickly. Okay, there we go. Next slide, please. Next slide. we're familiar with our board. Okay, so here is our athletics team, a pretty small team for such a significant number of students who we serve. Next slide, please. So all of the work that we do within the division is aligned to one of the 4 goals here. I'm not going to read them, but just know that each goal is connected to goal 1, academic achievement, goal 2, equipment and facilities for athletics, goal 3, our competitive athletics program, and goal 4, effective coaches. All the work is aligned to at least one of the goals. Next slide, please. So I was asked to provide information regarding our updated Spectator protocol. I want you all to know that, of course, it is the desire of everyone within our department to ensure that all of our stadiums are filled to capacity, all gymnasiums are filled to capacity. However, we must ensure the safety of everyone. And so just to provide a brief historical perspective, back in September 2023, under our former superintendent, we noticed there was an uptick in physical altercations occurring during our athletic contests. And so we were directed to update the Spectator policy, making it more restrictive. So in September of 2023, we did provide for more restricted entry, where we permitted up to 3 students or 3 spectators under the age of 19, and they needed to be accompanied by an adult. During that time, we also received identification from them. They also had to sign in. Transition 1 year later, we eliminated the sign-in sheets. We also lifted the cap of 3 spectators per adult, but we did maintain the age 19 and under being accompanied by an adult. Shift 1 year later, Dr. Mubanga tasked me with reconsidering the Spectator protocol with the intent of increasing student access. And so we did a couple of things. We convened an ad hoc committee, inclusive of various stakeholders, including athletic liaisons, coaches, board members, parents, administrators, and teachers. We also convened a group of approximately 107 student leaders, inclusive of our Inter-High Student Council and our Student Athletic Advisory Committee. We also convened the athletic liaisons, and we also met with PAC, the Principal Advisory Committee. And so in short, because we don't have time to do a deep dive on the data, I will share with you that there were mixed reviews. What I will say is that everyone really amplified the desire for everyone to remain safe. Even our students, 56% of our students wanted to maintain adult supervision for students in grades 9 through 12. On the flip side, I will say that 96 or 97% wanted for indoor home contests for students to, be able to, for all students to be able to attend. And so we landed somewhere in the middle. Next slide, please. So on the left side is our current protocol. On the right, we've kind of highlighted some of the changes with the revised protocol. And so just to highlight, for our indoor sporting contests, we are now permitting, or we will, because this will go into effect next school year, we will permit students in grades 9 through 12 to attend without an adult. Students in grades K through 8 must still be accompanied by an adult. But for the away team students, they needed to be accompanied by an adult if they were 19 years of age or younger. And we did shift from 19 to 17. For our outdoor contests, we've made a shift from students age 19 and younger being accompanied by an adult to any students age 16. And students age 16, they are still providing ID. However, they are permitted to attend 16 and up to attend without an adult. Students age 15 and younger must still be accompanied by an adult. And our outdoor track contest, because keep in mind with our outdoor track contest, it's not one school competing against the other. All 18 schools are competing. And so we are at this time going to maintain students age 19 and under being accompanied by an adult. So what are the next steps pertaining to the protocol? Again, I said that our desire is to pack our stadiums. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to penalize all students for the infractions of some. And so what we're working on right now is identifying a system that will support removing any restriction that we have. We're looking for a system that will allow for a screening. So when all spectators enter, particularly students, will screen their bus pass, and the system will scan for suspensions. It will also identify the attendance at the athletic contest. We're looking for a system that will also flag and record any removals of any individuals. And once we're able to identify that system, and the hope, I'll tell you, is that we'll be able to identify it before the start of next school year. If so, the revisions that I'm sharing with you will not go into effect, but it is a process. Okay? So we're going to ask you to hold your questions until the end. And at this time, I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent House to provide his updates.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have a sample eligibility policy that I'll pass around
Here, I could
that I'll
pass
get
that
to
on.
in a minute. Okay.
Mhm.
So the first topic that I was asked to bring forward tonight is our facility upgrades. So in the athletic department, I have a core value, ABU, to always be upgrading. And so we've employed that concept since 2020 in athletics. This year alone, we are going to have 4 upgrade projects in action. We have McKinley Gymnasium that we're continuously working on, our Bennett High School Gymnasium, along with 2 weight room or cardio room upgrades. We have Hutch Tech that's underway right now, along with Burgard High School that will be going on during the spring break. So when we have these facility upgrade projects, it's a huge undertaking that we collaborate with the high school principals, the chief engineers, all the custodians, with our core partners, G&G Fitness. They help supply us with state-of-the-art athletic equipment for our student athletes, for physical education. And along with, we did have an athletic contract in place with BSN that we currently do not now, but it's state-of-the-art athletic equipment that you'll start to see the transformation, because if you elevate the facilities, you're going to elevate the performance, and that's the goal. In front of you tonight is a proposed academic eligibility policy. Here in New York State, our high school association, NISFA, the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, does not provide parameters in terms of a policy for student athlete academic participation. At the Section 6 level, it is the same. There is no academic eligibility policy. When I came back, I grew up in Section 6, Lewiston Porter, graduate, moved out of the area after college, went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and I was part of the biggest athletic corporation in America. They're putting out college athletes like you wouldn't believe. They're packaging the student athlete. They're getting the academics with the athletics. They're fully polished and developed. That's why they're going to Alabama University, LSU. All right. Here, we don't have anything. This building or principal might be doing this. This one over here may be doing this. 2 years ago, 3 years ago almost now, I met with coaches, our modified sports committee, principal committee, talked with student athletes, parents, guidance counselors. The guidance counselors have been instrumental. What they've done along this process to help get us to this point, we are going to be bringing forward, hopefully, a proposal that you all will like to adopt. The concept, and I'll let you go through it later on, is twofold. Our student athletes are going to have to maintain a 65 course passing score in 5 out of 8 courses. This will be for all high school student athletes. Freshmen will come in with a clean slate. They'll be eligible. We'll look to implement this down the road. So we'll cast this information through billboards, through radios, news, media. Thank you, Buffalo News, for being here today to start that process. And essentially, we want to give folks, parents, students, a year notice so that we can grandfather in all of our current students, because it wouldn't be fair to change the policy as they're already in high school. I have a plan that would demonstrate everything that we're talking about and how we could easily transition this into our buildings with the support of our principals. There's other moving parts that we got to get in order to do that. The other piece with the eligibility policy is it keeps students on track for graduation. There's kids out there right now that are athletically 6'4", 6'5", walking around, good looking students. They're athletic. They have the skills, the speed, the strength. They don't have the academics. We got to do something. I'm asking everyone to please consider, review, ask questions. All right, we have fully vetted this. This is all inclusive for students with unique or special needs, our ELL population. This policy was taken from the GHSA, which is a $1 billion organization, Georgia High School Sports, where I did it as an athletic director and as a coach for large schools. It's the entire state where it's generated a lot of success. The goal here would be to launch this with our student athletes and elevate the standard for all students here in Buffalo Public Schools. And our teachers and BTF, we hope they'll get behind it. We want our teachers to really support it, understand it, and use it as a resource, again, to elevate student achievement. Some of the things you may ask are like, what are the interventions, the support mechanisms that you'd use to execute this new policy? Honest game partnership. That's my third topic. In October, it came across your desk. Everyone had the opportunity to see that we are putting in an academic intervention. Honest Game is doing several things, a wonderful job. They are looking and conducting an audit in a couple of our schools that weren't in compliance with NCAA clearance. We had students, again, we failed to have the course requirements aligned to the NCAA clearinghouse, and those students missed out on opportunities. We're aware. And so by bringing in this partnership, they're conducting the audit that is now going to prohibit or prevent from any student missing out on that opportunity, because all schools by the end of this school year will be in compliance with the NCAA clearance. The second thing they're doing is providing a platform where students and parents can now log in and they can check their NCAA guidelines, get information on the NCAA recruitment process, and be able to really track their own academic progress to then support recruitment. So tonight I hit on three small little topics that I was asked to present on, and I look forward to working with everybody to achieve our goals. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Lloyd.
Thanks, Mr. House. Okay, next slide, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Should be for the next slide.
Next, just the next slide.
All right, excellent. Okay. Buffalo Public Schools is a member of Section 6 of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. Section 6 serves as the governing body for the Interscholastic Athletic Association for Western New York. The section oversees rules, eligibility, championships, competition, athletic administration for 5 counties that you can see right there. Okay. Membership gives us the ability to compete in a structured system that is recognized nationally as well as locally. Section 6 also establishes our rules, scheduling coordination, and also, as I mentioned, past championships. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, there's 5. I'll let you increase up. There's 5 leagues that we are a part of. Buffalo is representative of the city of Buffalo, and you can see the rest right there. Next slide, please. Okay. Competitive balance across sections is maintained through classification systems. Schools are classified based on enrollment numbers, grades 9 through 11, which are reported annually through the BEDS numbers. BEDS are those numbers which are grouped in classifications from class AAA down to the smallest, which is class D. This system helps ensure that schools compete against other schools of similar enrollment size. Next slide, please. I wanted to talk about the Section 6 coordination fee a little bit here. I'm going to read this here because this comes right out of their constitution. As members of Section 6, schools pay a coordination fee that supports the administration of the section. This fee is calculated using a formula that includes the class fee, the number of sports offered by the school, and the administration costs shared amongst all the schools. Additional fees may apply for sports such as football and lacrosse, which require additional coordination and officiating structures. These fees allow Section 6 to administer championship, eligibility oversight, scheduling support, and other services. So they calculate this fee for every school district, and that's how we get our fee of close to $160,000. In addition to the coordination fee, what's a part of the coordination fee are two other fees called mileage and recruitment and retention of our officials. Next slide, please. So I take a few minutes to go over our BPS athletic program. Our athletic program budget is approximately $8.5 million. We have associated, as Mr. House and Dr. Wilson mentioned, with NISFA. Our programs, we have 32 athletic programs with a total of 579 teams. These teams include 193 fall teams, 178 winter teams, 208 spring teams. Of those teams, 248 are boys teams, 233 are girls teams, and 98 co-ed teams. We currently operate 337 varsity teams, 91 JV teams, 104 modified teams, and 47 intramural teams. This structure allows students to participate at multiple skill levels and development stages. Next slide, please. Next slide. I'll let you take a look at this, but we offer multiple programs in Buffalo Public Schools between our fall season, winter season, and spring season. I'll let you take a look at these programs right here. Several programs were added and expanded to the 25-26 school year, including modified baseball and softball, modified football, reflecting our commitment to increasing our participation numbers. Next slide, please. One of the most encouraging trends we have seen is a continued growth in student participation. Over the past several years, participation has steadily increased. In 2022-23, as you can see, we had 3,749 student athletes. 23-24, 3,874 student athletes. 24-25, 3,978. This year, we experienced a significant increase. 25-26, Buffalo Athletics currently serves 5,128 athletes. The balance is about 51% male, 49% female. And why did we have this growth this year? We started tracking our modified student athletes into this equation, and we also have final forms, which helps our coaches keep an accurate roster. So in the past, we introduced final forms. We did a launch like 2 years ago, a soft launch 2 years ago with a full implementation, which helps us correctly gauge the number of students we have in our program. So with that 5,000 seems like a big jump, but it does capture our middle school and our JV and varsity programs. Next slide, please. I'd like to discuss our strategic innovation initiatives. To support this growth, the athletic department has implemented several strategic initiatives. This includes expanding our middle school participation, including the addition of our second modified football team for 26-27, our new modified baseball and softball teams. As Mr. House mentioned already, we are improving our athletic facilities throughout the district. We're enhancing our student leadership opportunities through leadership development programs. We're increasing equity in our sports opportunities by ensuring that all students have access to programs in our district, regardless of their location. And we are also creating specialized programs. Recently, we held a BPS cheerleading showcase. We have a golf development program that has approximately 120 students from all of our schools. We have collaborated with the Legends of the Games for flag football this summer. We have collaborated throughout the school year and this summer with the Police Athletic League for basketball initiatives. And we're working with Project Play of West New York on our swim initiative. These programs help broaden the athletic experience for our student athletes. One of the programs that we're very proud of, which was an important component of Buffalo Athletics. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. Is our SAC committee. The SAC committee gives our students a voice in our athletic program. Through the Student Athletic Committee, or SAC, students from across the district meet throughout the school year to discuss issues affecting high school athletics. Currently, 72 student leaders from 18 high schools participate in SAC. These students provide valuable insight on topics such as sportsmanship, student experience, and leadership development. Their voices help guide many of the initiatives within our department, such as our Spectator policy. And so we always want to, next slide, please. We want to talk about celebrating our student success. While competing is important, academic and leadership success remains central to our mission. Through the NISVA Scholar Athlete Program, Buffalo student athletes continue to demonstrate academic excellence. In 2024-25, we had 27 scholar athletes, 114 individual scholar athletes. So far this particular year, we already have 10 scholar athlete teams and 56 individual scholar athletes across our school districts. Additionally, our student leaders participate in NISVA leadership and sportsmanship programs, which emphasize character, integrity, and positive representation of their schools and communities. And that's a close to my part.
That's a close?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that was a very quick overview for what is a bustling department. So we're gonna open at this time for questions. Come on up, Mr. House.
Well, I know we did have the parent athletic committee here, and I know they had some questions, so we'll start with them, and then I see board member Wright has his hand up, so we'll get to the BPAC first, and then we'll follow up with board members.
Thank you.
Will we open
No.
board work sessions to the public?
Yes, we have in the past. I've come multiple times and spoken at board meetings.
Okay, just hold on.
This is a board work session.
Okay, just hold on, because we met.
Silence.
I'm sorry.
Not silence, just consistency.
I'm sorry, just hold on.
Just consistent.
Mary was the legal one.
Well, I think the board president was going to respond,
Yeah,
actually based on all of her years of experience.
right. Normally, this is a board work session, so I think if you have questions, you can give it to a board member, they will ask the question, because this is not a public meeting. It's a work session. Yeah, and then we've always had it that way.
Parents have always asked questions at these. We just haven't done it because it's out of our way to be here at 4 o'clock. We have spoken and asked questions at work sessions before. When Chair Cotton was the board president, I came multiple times. Mary, it's true, we did do that. You guys wanted silence, the parents said, okay, we can do it in a different forum. We just had a couple questions that we had concerns on. I don't understand why we can't have our say.
Well, y'all can ask the questions for me, I guess, if that's what they're saying, so that's gonna be an issue. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna open the floor to board member Wright.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I had a couple questions. I was listening and I wrote down 2 questions for Mr. House and Mr. Aubrey. Mr. House, how you doing today, sir?
Good, how are you?
I had a question for you. What are your duties as Assistant Superintendent of Athletics, and who do you report to? What is the chain of commands in athletics? And the reason why I'm asking you this is because I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric, about athletics. Everybody know I'm not really a sports guy, but people are trying to put me to the left, to the right, to the middle about these topics. So for me to make certain decisions, I would like to know what is your role and who do you report to?
Sure, so my role is to oversee the athletic facilities. And I report to Dr. Ramona Reynolds.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr.
And
Aubrey.
he has additional responsibilities. I'll share the point of
Okay.
contact and support chart with the board as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Aubrey.
Hello,
What is
sir.
the reason? How you doing, sir? Good to see
Well.
you.
Same.
I wanted to know what is the reason for combining schools and we're not competitive. Why not let the schools have their own identity and compete through the district?
Good question. So I'll start with the textbook answer. NISFA allows school districts to combine when participation numbers are low. So we combine when participation numbers are low. And the second part of your question was, how come we're not competitive? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, a lot of our teams aren't competitive.
We do the best we can with what we have. Our coaches work with our student athletes when they come through the door with all students. Sometimes varsity sports are the first experience for a lot of our student athletes. We don't have necessarily a feeder program. We don't have not every program, as you mentioned, we have 91 JV programs. So we don't have an equal number of JV and varsity. So sometimes those programs are the first time those students are able to compete. So you start out, low level, but we hope to increase our programs, the competitiveness through our program.
So to you, the 192 or the one, whatever the union dues for, the dues for the section 6, you say that you don't consider them to be high. You feel like they're reasonable.
Do I consider them reasonable?
Yes.
I think they're high. Yeah, definitely I do.
High.
Yes.
Are they high because I'm sorry. Okay,
Go ahead. No, I have no further questions. Thank you.
I was just gonna ask, are they high because we have more schools participating? What's the reason for the increase, I guess? I don't know if you can answer that.
So I can answer some of this. Very good question. So when we give access to all of our schools, to all the sports, we are charged for that service. Okay, if you look at some traditional schools, school to school, you may only offer sports at your school. So you're not combining. But every time Buffalo Public Schools combines programs together with other schools, such as our championship Bennett football team that's combined with multiple schools, you pay for each one of those schools. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing that we have to consider was a couple of years ago, the section added an assistant director position, which all schools shared in that cost.
When is it temporary or is it long term when you do these combination of schools? Because you say you do it because there's a shortage of enrollment.
Yeah.
Do we ever discontinue the combination and schools can go back and function on their own? Has that ever happened?
Yes, it has happened. That's a very good question. For example, I met with Principal Conrad at Riverside, and she would like back her tennis team. Her tennis team 2 years ago had 2 kids on it. So we combined that program with McKinley to have give those student athletes the opportunity to participate. The conversation I had with her the other day was, if you get your numbers back up to the minimum, which is 7, you get your team back. So yes.
Is that intramurals or is that?
This is varsity tennis.
Varsity tennis.
This is an example. But yes, the goal is, we would like our schools to field their own programs. Yes.
So I see that on this list here, you have Mr. Dorsey is in charge of combining the school. So where did that strategy come from? Did that come from Mr. Dorsey himself, or are you a part of that? How did that work?
So just so everybody understands what we're looking at, I think you're looking at the committees that we serve on as Buffalo Public Schools. Okay, so Zaire Dorsey, and I'm actually going to nudge Mr. House because Mr. House has assigned Mr. Dorsey to that position, but he does not do the combining of the schools.
So
Mr. Dorsey sits on the committee as a representative at Section 6 as a member. So he attends those meetings and reports back what happens at those meetings.
Who do he report to, you or
Me.
Mr. House?
Me.
You just said Mr. House.
This was a few years ago when he was assigned to that role.
So
Well, I need to clarify, I didn't assign Coach Dorsey to any committee for Section 6. So it's clear. I know who I assigned. It
So
was not Coach Dorsey.
I mean, I'm looking at this list and I see your name on here several times. I see Pat Rickey on here several times. I see Dorsey on here several times. You have an assistant superintendent of athletics who's not on here not once. Why? I mean, is this expertise not valid to be on any of these committees?
I'm sorry. Let me grab it.
Confusing.
Yeah, let me just grab it really quickly. Take a look at the committees that are listed. Given Mr. House's scope of work, take a look at the committees that are listed. These committees are specific to programming. Mr. Lloyd is the director responsible for that. All of the other programs or all of the other committees have to do with programming. Mr. House mentioned that his lead initiatives include facilities It includes upgrades. It includes NCAA awareness. It doesn't align to the committees that are represented here.
So the
That's why.
So the assistant superintendent has no expertise on programming, and the principal does.
No, we didn't
Or
say
a
that.
teacher does.
Didn't say he doesn't have any expertise.
How was he
To
not
answer your
in any of these
question.
committees?
I just answered your question. It doesn't align with his body of work.
And that's you assign that, and not the athletic director.
Assign what?
These responsibilities, these jobs here.
I have not identified any of the league chairs.
So the athletic director assigns the lead chairs.
One second.
Yeah, so more specifically, which
Yeah,
role?
which one?
Because I can go through a few of these, and so, and Mr. House, please, comment on this. So when I returned to work, Mr. House assigned me to sectional intersectional. When I returned to work, Mr. House assigned me to finance committee.
So he was on these at one time.
I don't know if he was on them, but he did assign them to me. He assigned them to me. So the committees that I have right here, that if you're speaking to the athletic director, were assigned by Mr. House when I came back. Okay, so the other positions that were on here, Mr. Ricky, for example, was assigned to Section 6 football. He's always been on that committee since he's been here. Accurate still, Mr. House?
I see
So,
various.
so let me share with the committee.
So a lot of these, go ahead.
Folks, can we be professional here?
Yeah, we're gonna maintain.
You are
professionalism.
representing superintendent.
Mhm.
Wait for board members to ask their question, take your time and then respond.
And the specific answer to the question is, no one is discounting Mr. House's expertise. But in his role as assistant superintendent in this district and given his body of work, that is why he is not on any of this, because it doesn't align to his body of work.
So at one point in time, he was on there, right? So it did align to his body of work at some point.
His body of work shifted. So what he used to do as an assistant superintendent is different from what he does today.
Is this the only district that practiced that practice? Is it any
Practice-
other? Is
what
it
practice
is
are
there
you
any other
referencing?
school districts in any? Is it in Rochester done that way? Is this the only district that does that to an assistant superintendent?
I don't really know of other districts that have athletic assistant superintendents. You typically have a cabinet member, you have the AD, and then you have I'm not aware of other districts that have an assistant superintendent, but what's your specific
It's
question?
a lot of districts that have that. That's what I'm saying. It's
Okay.
a lot of districts that do it.
But this is how we do it here in the Buffalo Public School.
Really? Oh.
Do you have a specific?
Yeah.
Is there a
I mean,
specific
I'm
committee?
confused. I mean, I see signatures of our superintendent here, signatures of a athletic director signing where a superintendent needs to be. And
That's always been our practice in this district.
Well, who?
And doesn't mean that it can't change. This is just how we've always done
The
it.
board notified of this?
I'm sorry,
Was the board notified of this? That this was happening?
that what is happening, sir?
That athletic director is signing documents under where it says superintendent signature.
It's always been like that. Let me answer your question. You asked, please allow me an opportunity to answer. When Mr. House was the acting athletic director, he signed. When Mr. House, so Mr. House signed as well. It's always been like that,
I
even
need to
be,
correct that.
Can you insinuate? I mean,
excuse me, you did.
I'm
I
gonna
heard you
leave it
talk-
to the board president probably to stop this. I mean, this is not the way board meeting's
It's-
supposed to be.
Thank you.
This is not a board meeting.
I concur.
It's a work session.
I concur.
I just need clarity on this, because this was signed in November of last year, so that's clearly Mr. Rubenga was superintendent at that time. So he wasn't aware of this,
Who wasn't aware of
the
this?
superintendent.
Aware of what?
Dr. Mubenga is aware that he has a superintendent designee. Dr. Mubenga, Dr.
He told me that
Mubenga,
he wasn't aware of this when I asked him of this.
maybe he didn't understand the question that you were asking. This has been our district's practice forever. We've not changed anything. I can provide you, if you would like, I can provide you historical documents.
So the board.
That
the
shows
practice,
you-
The board been knew that this practice was happening.
I can't answer
President
that
Evans, were
question.
you
I'm not
aware
a
of
board
this?
member.
Have this practice been happening? Under
No.
Tanja Williams and whomever? Has this ever been
Not
happening?
specifically.
So you're not aware of this?
I'll provide you the documentation.
I can testify to it.
We should keep
Because,
this
yeah,
This is discussed.
like according to the presentation we
Certain
have.
things that have been going on shouldn't be going on, and the board needs to be notified of everything that is happening. And I'm just trying to get clarity on what's going on, because it seems like athletics has its own little private things other than the district. That's what I'm seeing.
With all due respect, you're saying seems like, if you have specific questions, we can answer them, but please don't project that out into the community because it's not true.
I'm just saying here on 11/19/2025 that where it says superintendent signature, it doesn't says Mr. Mubenga's name. Was he know?
Can you call me Dr. Mbenga, please?
Dr. Mubenga,
Please.
Dr. Mubenga, were you aware of this?
I was not aware. It came to my attention. That has been the practice in the past. Usually they'll say superintendent designate, but for some reason, this particular form of superintendent. I'm pulling my staff. It's not only in athletic department, other departments as well. Anytime it's superintendent, you bring it to my attention, I need to sign it. Unless I'm out of town, I can give you that permission. So that's something that we're gonna correct moving forward. Thank you.
There's no questions?
I do. So I'm a boy mom and my boys were athletes in this school district. And do you find that our talented athletes are leaving and going to private schools?
We don't.
Or did you want to answer that?
Yeah.
I don't care. The point is, and I brought that to say, you know, when we talk about competitiveness, I like to be competitive. I'm sorry. I think everybody in this room would like the same thing. It just seems like we could do better in terms of attracting talented young people to our district, whether it's football, basketball, whatever sport. We got to do it. And when we talk about, Division I, Division II, we used to do that. We're not doing it as much. And so I don't know what we need to do, but we gotta do better in terms of, retaining our kids.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And that's a good point. I think that we would attract students when the board makes a great investment to our program. $8.5 million is invested into our athletic program. We need to make continual investments into our facilities. Okay, we need to make continual investments into our people, the development of our coaches. And those two things right there are paramount as far as keeping students here. We talk to many people in the community. Students follow good coaches. We need to attract good coaches, whether they are teachers or community members in our school district. Okay, we need to continue to develop the teachers, and we are working on that plan to continue to develop our coaches to be better coaches. But facilities, we did All High Stadium several years ago for the second and third time, but we did it. It's a sense of pride. Student athletes love to see new shiny facilities, right? We have 4.5 football programs, if you will. Okay, and we have 2 stadiums. Okay, we need more facilities. We need more turf fields. We need more, our gymnasium being upgrades. Mr. House is working on that, but we need the investment. We have a deficit, right? But we need the investment into athletics in order to attract students back to our school district.
And I think the question that board president asked is a good question. We don't currently do exit interviews in the district. And so, that might be something that the district might consider so that we're not speculating as to why students are leaving the district.
Where are we at in reference to the coaching aspect? For years, I guess it goes to the person in the building instead of the right person for the job. What are your views on that? And is that being renegotiated? Because the last contract, I heard it was up for grabs and it didn't happen. And now here we are again with a new contract. So what are your thoughts on
Good question. Can't speak to negotiations. I'm not a part of negotiations.
But I will say that it is currently being negotiated.
Okay.
But your thoughts?
But I can give you the facts. All right. So New York State requires all of our coaches to be certified. Okay, so so let's just go through, we kind of talked about this with a few other people. Okay, so if you are a teacher or a physical education teacher in the district, we can talk about that. Phys ed teachers, they don't get, this was someone had mentioned this and I corrected that person. Phys ed teachers do not get jobs automatically. They happen to have gone through 4 years of college or more to be qualified. Okay, certified, so let's use the word certified for that position. In addition to that, first aid, CPR, AD, concussion, DASA, etc., to get a coaching position. If you're a teacher inside the school district, okay, so other than a phys ed teacher, you have to take coursework, either through the NFHS pathway or through New York State pathway. But then in addition to that, the other courses that everyone wants to take, first aid, CPR, AD, DASA, etc. If you are outside the school district, okay, you can apply for your TCL, your temporary coaching license. Okay, that means you have satisfied, you got a background check, you've been fingerprinted, you've met the minimum qualifications through the school district, and you have your first aid CPR. That allows you to walk in the door, and then you have, everyone basically has up to 5 years to get those certifications. So that's in a nutshell, the certification process. Okay, as far as how the current process goes right now, as far as assignment of coaches, if there's a position at Riverside High School, and it's that tennis position that we were previously talking about, it's offered right now to the teacher, most senior teacher inside the school. Okay, if no one wants it inside the school, okay, it's offered to the most senior teacher in the school district. If no one wants it inside the school district, then it's open to anyone, teacher, right? Teacher assistants, community members. But that is the way the contract works right now. Okay. But anyone can apply. I think that misunderstanding, I correct this as well. Anyone can apply. The community is not, prohibited from applying for positions. I encourage our community members to apply. You never know if that position maybe goes to the community member.
So Coach McDermott, who's out of the job right now, can apply for a job at Hutch Tech and won't get that job.
Under our current contract.
No,
That's that.
doesn't qualify.
He doesn't qualify. Is that right?
If no one,
If no one wants the position, of course, but.
So what do you feel about coaches opting out?
How do I feel about coaches opting out? Well,
opting out of what?
sectionals.
Yeah, opting
Well,
out.
just, I think to be clear for the community.
So we're referring to, we have sectional competition and you go 0-16 on the season and coaches say I'm opting out. So how do I feel about that? I believe that all students should get the opportunity to participate in sectionals. Even if you have a losing season, I really do believe that you may have 1 or 2 students on that team that could benefit from that. Maybe they aspired to play D3, D2, whatever it may have you. So I think that coaches should evaluate their teams. And we hire coaches. I mean, if we trust our coaches, which we trust them to evaluate the team, see if they're ready for that competition. But as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, some of our varsity teams are a lot of first-year players. Some can be first-year players. And are they ready to compete against Section 6, number 1 or number 2 seed? Sometimes coaches take that into consideration when they opt out. I think what we look at sometimes are coaches that like a couple of years ago, being fully transparent, one of our baseball teams that I think went 9-3 that opted out. That should have never happened. Okay. But reality sets in that when the student athletes choose prom over competition, that's what happens. Students make those choices. I can tell you that particular team wanted to go into sectional. I mean, the coach wanted to go in, but the student athletes did not want to. So my take is if the students want to go in and the coach trusts their team, go into sectionals. Take your lumps. It's a good experience.
20, we got 20 softball baseball teams. 15 of them opted out. 15.
And that's a larger conversation, board
So
member.
what are we teaching? Like, are you talking to the coaches on?
Absolutely. Absolutely talking to the coaches.
Being done for
If we're talking hardball and softball, that's one of our programs, 2 of our programs that needs a lot of assistance. And the addition of our modified program, we hope to help correct that. We need to start working with our students when they're a lot younger. It's very hard for a student athlete, whether it's baseball or softball, to put a glove in their hand when they're 13, 14, 15, have never played before, and compete at that level. Okay. So we're working on a strategy to offer baseball and softball to our younger student athletes. So we're trying to fix the base, right? While we're trying to fix the top. The other thing that we need to do is take a look at, and we need to use combine the schools very carefully. We might have to look at our combine the schools for our baseball and softball programs. Right now we have, several baseball programs, and there's not anymore, no JV programs. So how are we developing those teams? We have very thin baseball programs. So if you combine those, just the thought process, if you combine those programs together to create an opportunity for a JV varsity program, then we'll start to see development happen with our modified program.
How can you say that
I,
when?
I'm sorry, I just wondered if anybody sees my hand, because
I
it's been up.
We on it.
No,
Yeah.
I just, okay.
Yeah,
I do.
sorry.
And I know
sorry,
that
Mayor
VP,
Rodriguez.
I know VP Zulich had a question too, and I just, board member and Chair Hawkins, I know you have a lot of very detailed questions, but I just wanted to make sure that someone acknowledged me and that you were gonna come back.
I am so sorry, Board Member Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
VP Zulich, did you want to go before me?
Right, we have Scott and Zulich. Roll
You
call.
can go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. So,
Can't hear it.
thank you everyone for your presentation. Mr. Lloyd, you know, I definitely am hearing the issue on skill development, but baseball is a passion in some parts of the West Side, but we are losing that war to soccer. So there's definitely conversations to have about how to engage our students at higher rates. But one of the things that I was wondering, and this is just out of like a really positive moment, I was wearing a BPS athletics hat, and Dr. Reynolds, somebody was like, well, can I buy those? And I don't mean to derail the conversation at all, but I know that there are a lot of BPS families that are very proud of their students' involvement with sports. And I just wondered if we had any strategies or if we were thinking forwardly about how we might continue to spread that pride with either the hats or the swag, and whether or not that could be possibly a source of revenue generation for us.
I'll take that.
And
So
now I will
thank-
lower my hand. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you for that question. I think we all, from the athletic team, we get those questions a lot. Where do I get that hat? Where do we get that shirt from? And I think that we need it going forward. We don't have a plan today, but I think going forward, we need to create a plan of how to have swag for our school communities. I know some schools do. I know like Bennett does, City Honors, I don't perform. I've seen several schools that the school has taken on the initiative of ordering swag for their schools for students to buy or parents to buy. But I think what you're asking for is more from a district level perspective. So we will work on that.
Thank you so much. And sorry, the reason why I ask is because I know that there's a lot of things that we're working through, and Chairman Hawkins and others may have a more acute idea of what some of those areas of development might be, but I really see athletics as a huge financial opportunity, and that can be something that can really excite people because it excited them. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I have one boy and I am not a competitive mom. I just want to say, so I was excited though. Like I went to Bennett a couple times and watched, and I would wear like a Jimmy Valentine shirt or something. That name, like that's a great name. But it was great to watch the students on the field. My son had done unified bowling and we have had an amazing experience, and we've done that for 2 years now. And it's great that he has to be with his classmates and get to do that. I am wondering with the goal for highly effective coaches, I guess you said how we identify, but do we have, like, we have paid coaches everywhere? Because like when he was in 5th grade, we did soccer, but there were parent volunteers. So is that just for some of the sports, or I was just wondering how that
I
works?
can definitely answer that question. What school was that?
Oh, City Honors.
Okay, so we don't have, that was a parent run organization, let me say it that way.
Okay, so separate from the district.
That was
Okay,
separate from the district, yes.
thank you.
Done? I have the floor.
Yeah,
Go
or
ahead,
well,
go
oh,
ahead.
no, just the coaches, so it's, you interview, like people apply and you interview, and then you can choose to hire or not hire
Yeah,
them?
more recently,
Oh.
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, I just wasn't.
Okay.
Okay, because he definitely had a coach this
Right.
year. Okay.
Okay, so there's the process. Okay, so a lot of our positions, sometimes we only get 1 or 2 applicants, and when you review the applicants, you'll find that there might be a teacher, and then there may be a community member. And the way the contract is written right now, you go with the teacher. So the interview is more of a conversation with your experience. Do you have your certifications? It's minimal. Okay. More recently, what we did for the process we would like to continue with is what we did for modified football. Okay, we had several candidates. We had a committee. We interviewed and checked first skilled their resume to see how well they fit for the program. That's the direction we would like to continue going in.
Okay, thank you.
How did that work for you?
We got some quality coaches.
I don't care about the coaching part, but the team.
The team?
Yeah.
You mean the success of the modified program? Okay, it was successful. It was. Yeah.
Good. Board Member Scott?
I think these are for Mr. House. I have a few questions. So what's the status of Johnny B. Wiley? And is that something that we're responsible for, or is the city responsible for? The upgrades there.
So Johnny B. Wiley, I would have to defer to Dr. Reynolds. That's a city-owned property. We only have an agreement that we manage and operate, schedule, and maintain.
So the upgrades, the city's responsible for that's happening there?
Well, let me add, I work at Johnny B. Wiley, and there were some upgrades done last year. About $1 million worth.
So is everything usable for our students there?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not, I mean, we've used it. We've used it, but there's still work that
So-
needs to be done.
More
What
specific.
is usable?
Yeah, let's be more specific.
Yeah.
What are we referring to? We're talking about the entire complex. We're
Yeah.
talking,
Like there's there's a track,
track.
there's baseball
Swimming.
field.
okay.
What
what's
can
usable-
be used by our students now and what can't be used?
All right, so if you're looking at the facility, the baseball diamond is usable, okay? The newly put in turf field is usable, okay? The track is usable for practice only. We need an investment from the school district to help with that track renovation, okay? That's gonna be something we're gonna
Mhm.
be talking about very soon. If you go towards the park, obviously they still have there's gonna be a softball diamond over there where it used to be a field. It's gonna be a softball diamond for use for Buffalo Public Schools first, and then the community, and then you've got the playground and obviously the basketball court.
But that still needs to be done.
Yeah, that's gonna be completed. We were told this like 2 weeks ago, late spring. The rest of the complex, yes.
Oh, okay.
We won't have access to the softball diamond, we won't have access to the softball diamond until next spring because it's just the timing of when it's gonna be done during the spring. There's also a pool that's gonna be open back up this summer.
Okay, good.
I give the update only because I listen to inside the meeting. We're not responsible for those upgrades of
The
the park.
city, you're-
Yes.
Gotcha. Athletic eligibility. Did I hear you say, Mr. House, that we don't, it was talked about this for years before I was on the board. We don't currently have a policy.
We do not.
Okay.
I do want to interject though. I know Mr. House shared with you all. I don't see the word draft, but a draft of
Yes.
the protocol. But might I ask you, I mean, absolutely review it. He mentioned 3 years ago how he met with the various stakeholders. Mr. House is in the process right now. That was 3 years ago. So we still need to do a community meeting. We still need to meet with the parent, the principal advisory committee. We still need to meet with parent congress. We still need to, so we need to involve stakeholders. We need to get feedback. We will revise accordingly. And then we'll circle back to you all. So what we don't want to have happen is for you to comment on it now before we've had an opportunity to workshop it out. So he just wanted to kind of give you a sense of what the current protocol looks like now, but there's a lot of additional work that needs to be done.
Mr. Lloyd, I think this question's for you. Modified basketball. Do we still have combined schools for modified basketball?
When necessary.
When necessary.
Yeah.
So there are some schools
Yes.
that are able to independently field a team.
Yes.
Okay, good. And then hockey, I know that's a small sample of our student population, but we do have district-wide hockey for varsity JV, where all students from all schools can participate. And we have club 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, where all students from all schools can participate. However, different from suburban schools,
Mhm.
they're paid for by parents, not by the district, correct?
Right.
All.
So let me kind of clean that up just a little bit. So I'm aware. So there's a hockey program in Buffalo, not Buffalo Public Schools. That's 5 through 12. Okay. So there's a 5th and 6th grade, a 7th and 8th grade, a JV and a varsity. Okay. The 9th through 12th grade, they participate in a league called the Western New York Club Hockey League, which is a parent run,
Not section 6.
not section 6. It's a parent run organization. So some schools is let's use Sweet Home as an example. They have a section 16 as well as a club team. a lot of students, okay? If you look at maybe, Williamsville, they'll have a club team and then a section 16, which is a fed team, okay? So that's what the club league is for students, for school districts that don't have, for clubs that don't have support from the school district and school districts that have too many kids, they put them in the club league. There's this 5th through 8th grade league that runs right now called the Spring League. That's parent run as well. Okay. And so students from Buffalo Public Schools participate in that league, but not funded by Buffalo Public Schools.
Okay.
Who's in those programs? 5th through 12th. All those kids, but all the students are from Buffalo Public Schools and charter schools.
Is that intramurals or is that competitive?
It's club.
It's club.
Club, but competitive.
7 through 12?
7 through 12.
So,
Yes.
Thank you.
It'd be a great program to add.
Yeah.
The students already exist. And that's
And we have students that are not.
and we have the support of the city of Buffalo, Hashix Heroes, which is funded by the city.
Thank you all.
Board Member Bowen?
Thank you.
I think there's a hand up there.
Well, thank you all for answering the questions up there. I know we're all educators and it's a lot difficult to talk in front of adults and children. So many for answering all those questions. Regarding the lack of facilities, Dr. Mabanga and I are very well aware of our lack of facilities, which we're going to bring up at the next board meeting in a resolution. But a couple of things, Mr. Lloyd, I worked with you for several years and I could tell you, you are very well respected throughout the district. All the teachers have a very high regard for you and I commend you for you.
Thank you so much.
A couple things I have regarding the age requirement. Who monitors that when they come into the gates? Is it our school security?
Yes.
Okay, so they just check the license and are the teachers put up to that or?
Oh, well, wait a minute. You said who monitors the age
requirement?
Well, and I don't want to speak for security. Our COO is not here. I'm not sure if he's on the platform. I think and again, I don't want to speculate.
Okay, yeah. Just that we're doing it, you know? And the other thing is, I was a college athlete and I know you talked about people's grades getting behind where they're unable to participate in sports sometimes. Do we have a like study halls for the kids that are falling behind?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have study table.
Perfect.
Yes, every school.
Awesome. And what happens if they don't meet that requirement? Do they get kicked off the team?
I'll let Mr. House answer. That's part of this plan.
Are you asking currently what we
Yeah.
have? So currently, I'm sorry, what was your
And
question?
so if they're falling behind, say
Yeah.
their grades aren't up to par, do they get thrown off the team or do you put them in a academic like
Yeah,
study hall?
over the years, it's all been situational. So you'll find guidance counselor will try to remove a kid from a team. You'll find that a teacher tries to support a student to put them on the team and give them additional time and coursework to remedy and make up. You'll have some coaches that'll tell the kids, get the study table. You have some administrators that'll say, hey, get the study table in the morning. It all varies. It all varies. And that's why we're trying to bring forward a consistent policy that the board would adopt, that we would have an athletic director in the building that would be the compliance officer over eligibility, that would work with students and families to make sure that students are academically achieving, and together we would elevate student performance.
Great. Thank you. And
Okay,
President Brown?
just to add to what you just said, so remember I'm the boy mom. And my kids didn't play if they weren't academically sound. They put a pause there and you know, the coaches would make sure at that time, we're talking 15 years ago, the coaches would make sure that the athletes got the tutorials that they needed. And I would imagine they're doing the same thing now. But no, you don't play if you aren't up to par academically.
So maintain that mindset once we provide you with the athletic academic eligibility, because remember,
We're
Yes.
talking 65.
we wholeheartedly agree. When we brought this to the board last year, you all tabled it.
Remember,
Oh, okay. Okay, well, it will be coming back to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one last question before I close. Dr. Reynolds.
Yes.
How do you handle educational priorities, equity concerns, and financial constraints while facing the challenges of community's expectations when it comes to athletics?
Wait, take it back to the first part. How do I handle?
How do you handle educational priorities,
Mhm.
equity concerns?
And wait, can you pause here for a second? Because that's a broad
That's a
question.
broad
You want to like, I oversee or I'm responsible, the cabinet lead for 4 departments. So when you ask me, how do I handle educational priorities?
Yeah, when it comes
Specific
to sports, when
to-
it comes to sports. When it comes to sports.
I don't think I understand your question. How do I handle educational priorities? Here, we are a district, we do interscholastic sports. And so absolutely participation is important, but we are an educational organization, we're an educational institution. So that you put the student before the athlete. So that's what's critical.
Absolutely.
The other part,
Other part was the equity concerns and the financial constraints, because I know it's tough when you're dealing with facilities and, you got equipment, you're dealing with so many different sports teams.
sure.
All right, so, how do you handle all of those things?
Well, I don't personally handle it. That's where my team comes in, and it takes a collaboration because there's a finite amount of money. So we have to take a look at what we have, and then we need to prioritize what we'll be financing for the upcoming school year.
And the expectations from the community, how did you handle all of that in regards to what the community is expecting from the athletics?
Specific to what? Because again, athletics is so broad, so broad. Do you have a
Get to the next
specific?
level, from them getting to the next level.
Again, that's broad, but let me just say that, probably each of us receives feedback for a variety of topics. And, we consider all feedback. We consider all feedback. And then there are times also, again, taking it back to the athletic academic eligibility. The community will have an opportunity to weigh in at the community meetings. We will likely do a survey where community is able to kind of weigh in regarding that as well.
So if the community say we want to change on how our kids are being coached.
Well, I think I'm just gonna, we're way over time.
Yes.
I think it's our job as board members to bring the value and vision and then bring
I
that
know
to the
they're weighed down by
departments.
the contracts as well.
Yes, yes. All right, with you, Chairman Hawkins, I wanted to, and thank you, I'll let you say that. I was gonna say, we'll move on to Chief Barnes.
Thank you, athletics.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And positive vibes for Olmsted tonight. They're playing,
Oh, that's right.
Bishop Carney tonight, so. That's
all of us.
Is that good? Wow, yeah. That's sure we are. Okay.
Okay, and now,
Bishop time, I know of it.
board member, Councilwoman Rodriguez, if you're on.
Oh, I am on. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you.
much.
Thanks
CP,
so
no, it's
much.
okay. I know
Turn
it was
it
off
over to
camera.
you.
I'm constantly eating for everyone's knowledge, including the public. I really appreciate you transitioning. I'm just gonna open and then I'm gonna step away from the meeting. I want to thank everyone for their time. Hi, Director Barnes. I'm so sorry. It's been a very chock full agenda. We're so excited to hear from you. I just want to transition and give you the floor, sir.
Okay, well, thank you, Talia, and thank you for
Absolutely.
taking the time to meet the other day. I think it was a great conversation. I also have a reading recommendation, and it's very pertinent to our current situation. It's about the city of Rochester.
Thank you so much.
I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate it. Thank you for your passion.
Sure. Okay. Am I starting?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
what about Rochester? Should we all read this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
I think
thanks.
that's.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Chief.
Okay, first slide, Edmund, please. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the BFSA meeting that was, I don't even know what day it is, conducted Monday.
39.
First of all, what is the BFSA? It's a watchdog over the fiscal stability of municipal governments and the proper management of public funds. But it is also a resource to help discuss and solve problems with. We absolutely view them as a partner. We got a great relationship with them. The meeting on Monday was also just a standard required meeting to review the quarterly and reports and projections that the board saw a month ahead of time, and the city produces the same type of reports. What you might have heard was some comments on school closings. Let me be very clear on that. One, I sent all you guys an email prior to the meeting saying these are the items that will be discussed. There was no agenda on my part to discuss school closings, and it was no coincidence that the control board brought it up. We submitted a board-approved 4-year plan to the control board that stated in it for the last 2 years, school closings. They hold us accountable, and they've been inquiring about the status of it. That's why that was such a large part of that meeting. So anyway, the main agenda items included a review and analysis of the city and the BPS quarterly reports and projections. I'm just going to talk about the city for a second because it does impact our finances. The control board found issues with the city's 6-month results and projection. The city reported a projected deficit of maybe 24 million. In the current year, the BFSA believes it might be closer to 40 million. They expressed some concern over the city not having any reserve balance, zero, at the end of this year. And they tempered the overall impact of the $40 million one-time bailout. Somebody reads it in the paper, they might think, oh, their problems are solved. Okay. If they really have a $40 million deficit, this one shot fills that deficit. It doesn't fill next year's deficit of maybe $40 million. At the end of May, they will have dipped into our cash $90 million. 90 minus 40, they'll still owe us 50 million. So it's great they got it, or they don't have it yet, but if it's in the final budget, but it doesn't resolve all these issues. And we discussed the continued reliance on BPS cash to fund their operations. Review of BPS. They verified the accounting of our 6-month results, and they concurred with our projected deficit of $60 million, $18 million lower than the approved budget deficit. They discussed the projected 60 million deficit for next year. The fact that this will be 3 years in a row of deficits totaling about 159 million, and the impact on our reserved and fund balances at the end of next year. I'll talk about something else in a second, but they expressed concern over the trend of the deficits and the future impact on fund balance. And again, because we submitted a board-approved 4-year plan for 3 years in a row, saying we would close schools, they inquired about the delays and the deferrals. It's just part of their review process. They are going to require us to submit a revised 4-year plan by April 15th that addresses the projected future deficits and the decrease in our reserves and fund balance because we didn't close schools. And we must submit a plan that maintains state mandated reserve balances and overage ratios, and that's financially prudent. And again, these are all just typical responsibilities of the control board. I'm going to go back to the 2 things. They're a watchdog over the financial stability of municipalities, but they're also a resource to help us discuss and come up with solutions. The BFSA may be sending a letter to the board requesting an update on our plans for school closings as part of a deficit reduction strategy. They'll just inquire what's going on. I don't know the wording or if one will be sent. This was one of their end of the meeting notes. They're gonna require the city to actually submit a modified budget for the current year. So. Admir, next slide. The superintendent's objectives here. Now we're going to talk about updates to the 26-27 budget. The superintendent's objectives are a general fund deficit of $60 million or less. And a total general fund balance of $261 million at the end of next year. I want to add some comments to this. The superintendent and I meet throughout the week, both on the big picture financial matters that are impacting us and on everyday financial items that require his approval and on the budget. This is what the Plan B is, the $60 million deficit. Compared to the objectives in the 4-year plan, the better than expected results in the current year, combined with the worse than expected results in the 26-27 projection, will basically offset one another and get us very close to the fund balance objectives as stated in our 4-year plan. It was not easy to get down to a $60 million deficit. Got central office positions, he's pounding on contracts, he has us researching every line. But Plan B in its essence was combining those 2 years to arrive at the same fund balance goals as outlined in our 4-year plan. Then you might say 60 million. Well, we are never going to be able to substantially address our structural deficits without closing schools. I don't say that lightly. We've looked at every other machination, every other cut in every other area. You just can't make a significant dent in our expenditures without doing that. Admir, next slide. There's the budget process calendar again. I present it every month. We're tracking very well and hitting every one of those dates. That's more for your reference. Admir, next slide. So the status of our level 2 budget. Munis level 2 department non-staff entry is due on Friday. That's where, forget about FTEs and all that. Every other line in the budget, I don't know, 7,000 lines. The departments are actually entering in the detail of the trips they're taking, the vendors they're using. It's an excellent budget module. All departments will be done March 13th. We'll then present to the super, because one of his charges was to cut some of these vendor contracts and other areas. We'll present him by department current to projected level 2 analysis. The school-based budget process, March 16th is the deadline where the schools submit them to the OSL, and then the school-based budget approval meetings are scheduled for the last week in March. The budget department is also working on large expenditure items such as debt service, 90 million, charter tuitions, 200 million, employee benefits, 225 million, transportation about 80 million. We as a team rip these apart, call the state, we call our Lolly, who helps us with the, we're self-funded, so the actual expenditures. We also get like $5 million in discounts from various drug companies. We're checking every avenue to drive some of those huge numbers down. Keep in mind, the state won't approve its budget till April 7th. We get 85% of our revenues from state aid, so we really won't have a final number to go around. So you'll have, you see all these things going on with their deadlines. Detailed reports for you for you to review will begin in March, and a full set of reports won't be available until after the state budget's finalized. Those are timeframes we can't control. Admir, next slide, please. All right. This is the pathway to getting to a $60 million deficit. And some of the major decisions the superintendent is gonna have to make. And I'm sorry if I chuckle, but you have your plate for it. Right now in green, we're at a 76, if you look at our system, it's a $76 million deficit. But I'll just give you some, and what that includes, the latest state aid numbers, virtual pathways cuts, vacancy cuts, WASED and IT hardware cuts, big decreases in debt transfers, contract settlement estimates. That's why there's no numbers here. That's between the superintendent and his bargaining. Charter school increases and estimated benefits increases. Again, the plan B, you understand what it is conceptually, but virtual pathways cuts, vacancy cuts, central office cuts, WASED and IT hardware cuts. Superintendent's been pretty tough so far. Now, how do we get from 76 million down to that 60 million or so? A reductions of the filled FTEs. Super made those cuts as well. School-based budget classroom and FTE reductions. Standard part of the process. We reducing classrooms to get them to go from an average of 19 to 29. That's 89 positions. Then we're adding back 51 for SPED, an increase in SPED classrooms. So the net impact is less than we had hoped. With the SPED demands are very large and growing. He's considering additional TOSA and FTE cuts, medical benefit savings. We have a hope for a nominal increase in foundation aid, more than a hope. But until it's communicated to us by the state, it's not locked in. Changes to after school programs, variances to our projected contract settlements. Changes to the summer program, less teachers. Potential reduction in transportation, a reduction of vendor contracts, potential reduction of charter school calculations. Large amount of other items that the superintendent will be reviewing when we have that non-staff budget entry report submitted to him. The NFTA is probably going to be increasing their cost 50% or $5 million. So we're dealing with an awful lot. If all of those things are accomplished according to our assumptions, that should reduce that $76 million deficit by 21 million and get us to $55 million. Included in that would be an FTE reduction of 113 FTEs in the general fund. What I really want to stress here, if we do all this, and everything works out, we get down to 55. But that's based upon every decision, every assumption being met. Any further request, any deviation from these assumptions will increase the deficit. I know I might sound like, well, I know that. Well, that's what happens in these tough times. So if we're at 55 million, but everybody wants to add 6 programs and 5 new slots, to 70 million because of those decisions. Next slide, Edmure. Risk and opportunities. I'll sort of cast this in as we gather the data through the end of March, and the super sits down and takes in input from 100 sources. And he makes his final decisions. Here's like the risk and opportunities. Revenues. We asked for 20 million in additional aid through our lobbying efforts. Plan calls for getting maybe an additional 4. We could always go back and do additional staff and position cuts. It's the first one that addressed central office on this level in years, but that's a opportunity. The financially smart use of 10 million in extra UPK. Superintendent's been very clear with me and my financial team. These resources, the critical nature of providing UP education, both as the starting point in their educational careers, but also for growth in district enrollment. Did I capture that correctly?
Yes, but there are also restriction just for UPK,
Yes,
not other places.
Correct.
That's where the money can be used.
that's right. So with that, there might be this extra UPK money combined with changes in the 1003 basic grant and a lower than historical Title I carry forward. As all this data comes in at the end of March, we'll be looking at those grants and other things to hopefully creatively fund some things. Okay, but I can't give you answers yet, as the state hasn't provided us all the data. And how much of those grant resources will we need will depend on the school-based budget books, the non-staff entry, but it's all gonna come together. SPED is both a risk and an opportunity. And I'm sorry, I'm probably not using the correct words, but the SPED population is gonna grow. The classrooms are gonna grow. The teachers and teachers' aides are gonna grow considerably. What we have done, there's a monthly revenue maximization committee run by the head of our revenues. It's had tremendous success so far in increasing our SPED reimbursements. So we hope to mitigate those additional SPED costs. And what everybody should keep in mind, you get additional foundation aid for SPED enrollments. So we're aware of all this, and the budgets will be well crafted with all of this knowledge input to give the superintendent a realistic and solid deficit number. And back to the school-based budget process. We all know this happens. We start at 55 million, schools sign off on their budgets. Different board members for different reasons will want additional FTEs, just so you know, that will increase that 55 million that I provided tonight. Grants, changes to the 1003 grants and lower than historical Title I combined with UPK. It's gonna be trickier than ever to use those creatively, but Danielle Schwanenkamp and her team are up to the task. There is also an additional coaching for excellence grant, which they met on today. It's new, the restrictions are different, but again, we'll utilize every one of those resources to fund the superintendent's budget. Bargaining on the bargaining unit contracts. We made assumptions in that 55 million that I gave you. We'll see how that all turns out. All right, I'm almost at my last thing. This sort of coincidentally ties in with the control board. We are, just like the Plan B, yeah, we're gonna have a $60 million deficit next year. But we did better than this year, and the super is looking at ending fund balance next year. We meet the control board's goals. We're good with that through the end of next year. It's that if we don't close schools, we'll have another $60 million the following year. And then our cash and our fund balances will get very, very close or dip below some mandates. So this has outlined this. I've probably provided it 6 times. I won't tonight. But this is also important. Add your next, add your next slide and next slide. The superintendent and I talk all the time. Again, big picture level, on the budget lines and on everyday financial matters. Boy, we think our communication has been very consistent, concise, and clear. So we've been saying when the decision was made to defer schools, it was clearly stated, well, we're gonna try a new process. In part based upon bringing in a consultant to lead the process. Well, we're at that time now where we have to do that. But I just want to stress, and this is where the control board has dawned on me or hit me, reminded me, the board may be getting a letter from them asking the board what's going on. So, knowing the financial implications of not closing schools, we have a responsibility to at least proactively plan whatever the final decisions are. So we have time right now to do this in a well-organized, thoughtful, calm, and well-communicated manner, but not much time. The timeline, I'll send this to you in an email, but the superintendent and I reviewed this. You think 27, 28 is a long time away? Some of the milestones we have to hit, they're coming up. So I'll send this out so you can visually gauge what needs to be done in what time frames, if you're gonna do it. The RFP will be issued in March. It might have went out yesterday. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
So Talia had to leave, I'm gonna ask.
I just, I know you talked about the cities, we're gonna be borrowing from the city, they give us a lump sum, correct? We're not gonna be able to meet that, the city of Buffalo?
No, what I'm saying is the city and the school board, they commingle their cash by law, it's all legal. As their financial picture is deteriorated, they've been dipping into our cash balances to fund their operations.
Now, with them raising taxes, it's been all over the news, is that gonna help them get out of it, or just kind of?
No, it'll help them, but they don't have a full solution.
Much time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you, thanks for the presentation.
Yeah.
You're cutting positions, you're gonna cut positions.
He's cut, I'm sorry, I don't mean to personalize, but cut 30 vacancies already and 20 more are scheduled in April.
You know what schools are gonna be?
I'm sorry, that's just central office.
Oh, that's just central.
Then through the school-based budget, there'll be 89 positions eliminated.
Okay, now I know, the challenge of that phase, so we're gonna cut stuff for our kids that already has a limited amount of resources, so we're gonna cut into that.
No, we don't cut the services. No, we're closing classrooms. So instead of having 2 classrooms of 8 kids, you're gonna have 1 with 16.
But you mentioned YZ. You mentioned YZ,
Right.
so that's something.
I'm sorry, I wanna focus on the teaching of children. No, nothing changes. They're just in slightly larger classrooms. Now, why is that?
YZ teachers to change.
Right, we have a huge inventory and they just purchased the last amount of kits for the last program. We're just not gonna buy any more kits.
So they start using the kits that they have.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna be buying consumables.
So. Okay, Ruby, did you have any other questions?
No, yeah.
On the same line, when you talk about class size. Is that just, was that classes?
Oh, no. I think Mookie's question was specific. He had an interest in why is that. This is general ed classrooms.
Oh, okay. So 89 positions, okay, so the 113 full-time positions you mentioned. Are the 89 in there?
It's 89 plus the 50 central office Then you gotta deduct the extra 51 we're hiring for special ed. So the net amount is 113 in the general fund.
Okay, so this is still preliminary.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you, as always, for your presentation. Any other questions, board members? Julie?
Hi, so the lower than historical Title I carry forward, it's not that we got less from the federal government, we just,
It's because we spent it on WASD.
and then, closing schools. If we close two, that won't close the $60 million deficit,
No,
All right.
which is part of the,
but probably rough guesstimates that we're talking
We're
about.
we're not getting to zero, a deficit. All right, so closing 2, 3, 4, it will give us some amount today. There are gonna be some fixed asset as well that we'll be able to, I mean, we can go from $5 to $7 million per school. But
Yes.
again, let the professional, independent folks come, do that analysis, and then we'll bring it to you.
Yes.
So I don't want us to speculate at this time.
I
Yeah.
agree with you,
Yeah.
but I agree.
okay, thank you. And then it was in the paper, the RFP is 500,000 to $1 million.
We don't know. An
Okay.
RFP is a request for proposal.
Right.
That could
Okay,
whole
well, no,
board.
that number was, I read that number.
I
Okay.
no, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say.
Okay,
The control
it could be
board,
less.
this is, oh, God, yes.
Okay.
The control board, this is after, I think, 5.5 hours. They were like talking amongst them. This could cost 200, this could cost $1 million. I said, I don't know, 500, $1 million, I can't give you a number.
Okay, I was gonna say, we got a great deal with BOCES when we contracted with them
Yeah.
to help on our superintendent search. Maybe they do that too. And
I think they wanted to make the point, there's a cost associated with a consultant, that's all.
It can be 100, it can be
Correct.
200. Bosses, they'll be able to weigh in as well if they have the capacity.
Yep.
They gotta have the capacity.
I think that was, oh, I feel like I bring it up every month. But we can save $500,000 on our rent at the training building, correct?
This will actually be a part of this analysis. I'll get you back on that specific lease. But there's implications if you don't lease it and cost associated. This RFP is focused on closing schools to save money. And I want to say on the saving money part. Chipper and I are kicking around numbers about 7 million based on research, but then transportation can get better. Food service delivery can get better. So there are other benefits, and you take off the table the risk of an emergency at these AG buildings. But I'll get back to you on that, but I'm sorry, the RFP and what the supers requested is more in-depth than, I just don't want 2 names to close. He's got other ideas for buildings.
Okay, and then, I mean, this I can email too,
Okay.
but just not to. Things like, I mean, is everything on the table to look at? I mean, for example, I'm just thinking like IT, do we maybe not have our youngest learners on their iPads? For example, because we spend a significant amount of money in that department. We're just
We'll be
doing a
looking
whole
at-
list.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Question, do we know what schools are being impacted by these cuts at all?
Oh, yeah, it's ongoing with the school-based budget process. Yeah, very much so. It has to do with enrollments and class sizes.
Yeah, board president, let me make this point as well. As much as we're trying to balance the budget, we're not gonna shoot ourselves on the foot. You also data, 58% of our schools struggling. But there're gonna be some additional funding that we're gonna get from the state for those designations. That was my conversation today with principals to say, once we finalize those numbers, then they're gonna work with the ASL as well as Dr. Bullock to make sure that we meet the needs of those schools. They're gonna be additional funding in addition to the basic process that we're going to because of the additional dollars that we'll receive.
So that's from the state?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Every year, we use Title I, the 1003 grant. This time there's this coaching for excellence to fill in the holes.
Has there ever been a contingency plan for the superintendent to have necessary funds to help principals who are short on teachers, whatever the case, that they pretty much expand their budget, but
I hear you. The superintendent will analyze everything and what he needs for his strategies, we'll find the money.
but was there a budget, was it something like that in the past?
Yeah, Mrs. Cotman called it my slush fund, but it's called a contingency. Yes, there'll be a contingency for the superintendent only.
Yes. Right. Okay.
We have two, then there's a contingency for like emergencies at schools to repair things. There's two. But yes, he certainly,
So, yeah.
he runs the district.
Yeah, we always gotta look at equity. And so hopefully we're doing it. And I know you are, Dr. Moveda, to ensure that, most of these cuts don't fall in the nature of the schools.
Thank
you.
Any other questions, board members on the line? All right, thank you, Jim.
Yeah,
Once again.
thank you very much.
Right. Who's our finance committee? Dr. Mbenga, you want to?
No comments. Thank you. This was a robust conversations and back to you, VP Zulich.
Concludes our work session. See you next month.
So you have.
Yes, sir.
Well, session.